In the vast silence between stars where human voices had no right to exist, Captain James T. Kirk stood on the bridge of the USS Enterprise and stared at an impossibility. The view screen showed a figure tumbling through the void. No suit, no ship, no logical explanation for survival. Just a young man in an orange and black jumpsuit, unconscious but somehow, inexplicably, alive. Captain, sensors confirm a humanoid life sign, Spock reported from his science station, one eyebrow raised in that particular Vulcan expression that meant the universe had just violated several laws of physics. However, the readings are inconsistent with known biology. Inconsistent how? Kirk moved closer to the screen, watching the figure spin slowly in the vacuum. The subject is generating an energy field I cannot classify. It bears similarities to bioelectric phenomena, yet operates at an intensity that should be impossible for a human nervous system to produce. Spock's fingers danced across his console. Captain, without environmental protection, exposure to space should have resulted in death within 90 seconds. This individual has been in vacuum for approximately 4.3 minutes. Beam him directly to sickbay, Kirk ordered, and have security standing by. Mr. Sulu, maintain position. Aye, Captain. The transporter room reported success, and Kirk was already moving toward the turbolift. Whatever this was, alien, human, or something else entirely, it had survived the unsurvivable. In his years exploring strange new worlds, Kirk had learned that the universe saved its greatest mysteries for moments exactly like this. Well, if you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. In sickbay, Dr. Leonard McCoy was already running his medical tricorder over the unconscious young man when Kirk arrived. The kid, and he was a kid, couldn't be more than 19, had sun-blonde hair that defied gravity, even in unconsciousness, and 3 thin scars on each cheek like whiskers. His orange jumpsuit was torn and scorched, but beneath the damage, the fabric looked hand-stitched, almost primitive. Well? Kirk asked. McCoy looked up, his expression somewhere between fascination and alarm. Jim, this boy should be dead 10 times over. Vacuum exposure, radiation, temperature extremes. His body just shrugged it off. And that's not the strangest part. He adjusted the scanner. There's something inside him. Another life form, integrated at a cellular level. Symbiotic, maybe, but unlike anything in the Federation database. Is he dangerous? To himself? Probably. To us. McCoy shrugged. Ask me again when he wakes up. His healing factor is remarkable. Tissue damage is repairing itself as we speak. Whatever that energy field is, it's keeping him alive and repairing the damage faster than I can catalog it. Kirk studied the young man's face. There was something earnest about those features, even in unconsciousness. The kid wore a metal headband with a stylized leaf symbol, and his hands were calloused in a way that suggested hard training. Combat, perhaps. Captain, Spock enters sickbay, carrying a tricorder of his own. I have analyzed the energy signature. It does not match any known form of biological energy in Federation records, but it demonstrates properties consistent with both matter and energy conversion. Theoretical physics suggests this could be a form of bioplasmic manipulation, the conversion of physical mass into energy and vice versa. In English, you Spock, the subject appears capable of manipulating his own life force as a tangible energy source. The implications are... Spock paused, his Vulcan control slipping for just a moment. Fascinating. The young man's eyes snapped open. They were blue, impossibly, brilliantly blue, and for just a second, Kirk could have sworn they flashed red with slitted pupils before returning to normal. The kid shot upright on the biobed, hands moving into some kind of combat stance, breathing hard. Where am I? What happened to the fight with... He stopped, looking around sickbay with growing confusion. This isn't the land of lightning. This isn't even... His eyes widened. Where's Kurama? I can feel him, but he's quiet. Really quiet. And the chakra here is all wrong. Easy, son. Kirk raised his hands in a calming gesture. You're safe. You're aboard the USS Enterprise, a Federation starship. I'm Captain James T. Kirk, Can you tell me your name? The young man blinked, looking from Kirk to Spock to McCoy and back again. Starship? Like, in space? Actual space? He pressed a hand to his stomach, as if checking for something. Okay, okay, don't panic. I've dealt with weird stuff before. Time travel, other dimensions. That thing with Kaguya. He took a deep breath and met Kirk's eyes with surprising steadiness. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village, and I have absolutely no idea how I got here. Kirk smiled. In his experience, honesty was a good sign. Well, Mr. Uzumaki, why don't we figure that out together? But first, he gestured to McCoy. My chief medical officer needs to make sure you're not going to drop dead the moment we're done talking. I've been through worse than space, believe it, Naruto grinned. And despite everything, the impossible survival, the unknown energy, the creature living inside him, Kirk found himself liking the kid already. There was something familiar in that determination, that refusal to let circumstances define you. Spock moved forward with his tricorder. Mr. Uzumaki, you mentioned chakra. Would you be willing to explain this phenomenon? Naruto's grin widened. Oh man, where do I even start? Okay, so chakra is this energy that flows through everything living in my world. Shinobi, that's ninja. We train to control it and use it for jutsu. That's like techniques? Special abilities? He held up his hand, and Kirk watched in amazement as a small sphere of blue, rotating energy formed in his palm. This is a Rasengan. It's pure chakra, shaped and spinning at super high speed. The energy sphere hummed with barely contained power before Naruto dismissed it. But something's wrong here. I can feel my chakra and Kurama's chakra. He's the nine tails, the fox spirit sealed inside me. Long story, but there's no natural chakra in the environment. It's like trying to breathe underwater. I can do it because I've got reserves, but I can't replenish naturally. Spock's eyes gleamed with scientific curiosity. Fascinating. You are describing a form of energy manipulation that should be impossible under known physics, yet you perform it as naturally as respiration. Captain, I would recommend we keep Mr. Uzumaki aboard for observation and study. The scientific implications alone. I'm not a lab experiment. Naruto's voice carried an edge, and for a moment, Kirk saw something dangerous flash behind those blue eyes. I've had enough people treating me like a thing instead of a person. Kirk stepped between them. No one here thinks you're a thing, Mr. Uzumaki, but you have to understand, you appeared in the middle of space, surviving conditions that would kill any human we know, with abilities we can't explain. We need to understand what happened to you and whether we can help you get home. The tension drained from Naruto's shoulders. Home. Yeah, I need to get back. My friends, the village, they'll be worried. And there's this whole thing with the Otsutsuki clan that we were dealing with. He looked around sickbay again, really seeing it this time. But I'm guessing you guys don't exactly have a jutsu for dimensional travel, huh? We have something better, Kirk said. We have science, determination, and a ship full of the best minds in Starfleet. If there's a way to get you home, we'll find it. But in the meantime, he made a decision, the kind he'd made 100 times before, trusting his instinct about people. You'll need somewhere to stay. How would you feel about becoming a provisional cadet? Learning about our universe while we work on returning you to yours? Naruto's face lit up with a grin that could have powered the Enterprise's warp core. You mean like training? Learning new stuff? Count me in. I've always wanted to explore beyond the shinobi nations. Just never thought it would be this far beyond. He glanced at the view screen showing stars beyond sickbay's window. Believe it. Kirk extended his hand. Naruto took it without hesitation, his grip strong and earnest. Welcome aboard the Enterprise, Cadet Uzumaki, Kirk said. I think this is going to be an interesting assignment. Behind them, Spock raised an eyebrow. Captain, I should note that provisional cadet status has never been granted to an individual from another dimension with reality-altering abilities and an unknown entity living inside them. Kirk smiled. Then I suppose we're making history, Mr. Spock. Wouldn't be the first time. As McCoy ran his final scans and Naruto bombarded them with questions about this space thing and what's a warp drive, Kirk felt that familiar thrill of discovery. The universe had handed him a mystery wrapped in orange and determination. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be boring. The Enterprise hummed around them, carrying them deeper into uncharted space. And now it carried something no starship had ever carried before. A ninja from another dimension, ready to learn what it meant to boldly go where no one had gone before. The interrogation room, though Kirk preferred to call it a briefing, was standard Starfleet design. Clean, efficient, and utterly unlike anything Naruto had ever seen. The walls were smooth metal without visible seams. Lights emerged from nowhere in particular, and the chairs seemed designed by someone who'd never considered that people might want to sit comfortably. Naruto shifted in his seat, the orange fabric of his jumpsuit squeaking against the synthetic material. Across the table, Kirk leaned back with the practiced ease of a man who'd conducted 1,000 such interviews. Spock stood to the right, tricorder in hand, recording everything. McCoy occupied the left, arms crossed, watching Naruto with the protective suspicion of a country doctor who'd seen too many strange things try to hurt his patients. "Let's start simple," Kirk said. "Tell us about your world." Naruto took a breath. "Where did you even begin explaining a universe where gods walked as mortal men and children learned to throw fireballs before algebra?" "Okay, so my world has 5 great shinobi nations. Hidden Leaf, that's Kanahagakure, where I'm from, is in the land of fire. We've got Hidden Sand, Hidden Mist, Hidden Cloud, and Hidden Stone. Each village trains ninja to serve their country, protect their people, and complete missions." "Missions?" Kirk's tone remained neutral, but Naruto caught the calculation behind those hazel eyes. "Military operations?" "Sometimes. Escort missions, protection details, intelligence gathering, combat when necessary." Naruto met Kirk's gaze steadily. He'd learned the hard way that hiding who he was only made things worse. "Look, I know how that sounds, but where I come from, shinobi are also the ones who stop wars, negotiate peace, and protect civilians from threats they can't handle themselves. After the Fourth Great Ninja War, I helped end the cycle of hatred between villages." Spock's eyebrow climbed higher. "You participated in a global conflict? At your age?" "I'm 19. And yeah, I was 17 when the war happened. Fought alongside the entire Allied shinobi forces against an ancient threat that wanted to enslave everyone in an eternal dream." Naruto's hand drifted to his stomach again, that unconscious gesture Kirk was beginning to recognize. "Before that, I fought Pain when he attacked the Leaf. Before that, Orochimaru's forces. Before that, I've been fighting since I was 12. McCoy's expression shifted from suspicion to concern. "Good God, Jim, he's a child soldier." "I'm not a child," Naruto said, but without heat. "I know I look young and act, well, Kakashi-sensei always said I was too loud and reckless, but I've earned my headband." He touched the metal plate with the leaf symbol. "I protected my precious people, saved my village, and brought back friends who were lost to darkness. I'm not some kid who needs protecting." "Everyone needs protecting sometimes," Kirk said quietly. "Even captains. Even heroes." He leaned forward. "This entity inside you, Kurama, you called it. Tell us about that." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Naruto's expression hardened, years of pain and prejudice flashing across his face before he controlled it. "When I was born, my village was attacked by the nine-tailed fox, a biju, a tailed beast made of pure chakra. It's basically a living natural disaster. My father, the fourth Hokage, sealed it inside me to save the village. I've been its Jinchuriki, its host, my entire life." "The scans showed 2 distinct life signs," Spock said. "One human, one other. Is this entity sentient?" "Yeah. Kurama's sentient, intelligent, and for most of my life absolutely hated my guts." Naruto's laugh was bitter. "Can't really blame him. He was a weapon that humans kept sealing into kids, using him for war, treating him like a mindless monster. We came to an understanding during the war. Now he's my partner, my friend." McCoy's tricorder beeped. "Jim, the energy readings are spiking. Whatever this Kurama is, it's reacting to the conversation." "He can hear you," Naruto said, And he's not an it or a whatever. Show some respect. For a moment, his eyes flashed red again, slitted pupils visible before fading back to blue. When he spoke again, his voice carried a deeper resonance, as if two voices spoke in harmony. The doctor's instruments are primitive, but not entirely inaccurate. I am Kurama, the Ninetales. I have existed for over 1,000 years. I do not appreciate being discussed as if I were a laboratory specimen. Kirk didn't flinch. He'd negotiated with Klingons, faced down Romulans, and once talked a computer to death. A talking fox spirit wasn't going to rattle him. My apologies, Kurama. I mean no disrespect, but you have to understand our position. We've encountered many life forms in our travels, some beneficial, some hostile. We need to know if you pose a threat to this ship or crew. The red faded from Naruto's eyes as the boy, no, the young man, regained full control. Kurama's not going to hurt anyone unless they hurt me first. He's saved my life more times than I can count. Given me power when I needed it, pulled me back from the edge when I was about to do something stupid. Naruto smiled, genuine and warm. He's pack, family. Spock consulted his tricorder. Fascinating. A symbiotic relationship evolved from initial parasitism. The psychological implications alone merit extensive study. Mr. Uzumaki, you mentioned that chakra manipulation requires training. Could you demonstrate the extent of your abilities? In a controlled environment, naturally. Naruto looked to Kirk, who nodded. Mr. Chekhov, have security clear Cargo Bay 2 and set up observation equipment. Mr. Uzumaki, we'll see what you can do. But, his tone turned serious. I need to know you can control this power, that you won't accidentally tear a hole in my ship. I've had control since I was 16, Naruto said. Trained with Killer Bee, the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki, learned to work with Kurama instead of against him. I'm not going to lose it and transform randomly. He paused. Well, probably not. It's been solid for years now. Probably, McCoy's eyes widened. Doctor, Kirk said calmly, in the last year, we've dealt with omnipotent beings, planet-killing machines, and a Roman society in space. I think we can handle, probably. He stood and Naruto rose with him. Let's see what a shinobi can do. Cargo Bay 2 had been cleared of everything except observation equipment and structural reinforcement fields. Scotty's addition after Kirk explained they'd be testing energetic phenomena of unknown magnitude. The engineering chief had muttered something about always the cargo bay and reinforced the bulkheads for good measure. Naruto stood in the center of the bay, his orange jumpsuit bright against the gray walls. Kirk watched from the observation deck with Spock, McCoy, Scotty, and half the science department. Word had spread quickly. The kid from space was going to do something impossible. All right, Naruto called out, his voice carrying through the comm system. I'll start simple and work my way up. Ready? Proceed, Mr. Uzumaki, Kirk said. Naruto brought his hands together in a cross-shaped seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. The cargo bay exploded with smoke, and when it cleared, Kirk stopped breathing for a moment. Where one Naruto had stood, now 50 identical copies filled the space, each one moving independently, each one apparently solid and real. Good Lord, McCoy breathed. Jim, the life sign readings just multiplied. They're all real. Not exactly, Spock said, eyes glued to his sensors. Each duplicate registers as a distinct entity, but their mass is distributed from the original. It's not replication, it's subdivision. He's dividing his physical presence across multiple forms simultaneously. The energy cost must be extraordinary. One of the Narutos waved at the observation window. Each clone can act independently, gather information, and when I dismiss them, all their experiences and memories come back to me. It's perfect for learning new stuff fast. Back home, I used it to master jutsu that should have taken years in just weeks. Another Naruto performed a spinning kick at a third, who blocked it perfectly. We're all connected through chakra, but we can think for ourselves. It's like, he paused, searching for words, like being one person in 50 places at once? Kirk glanced at Spock. Analysis? If his claim is accurate, Mr. Uzumaki has discovered a form of accelerated learning through parallel experience processing. Combined with his apparent healing factor and energy manipulation, the tactical applications are... Spock's voice held that particular tone of Vulcan fascination. Considerable. Okay, dismissing them now. All 50 Narutos formed a hand seal, and in another puff of smoke, they vanished, leaving only the original standing in the center of the cargo bay. He swayed slightly, catching himself. "You all right down there?" Kirk asked. "Yeah, just... Using chakra here is way more tiring than normal. Like I said, no natural chakra to draw from the environment. I've got my own reserves in Kurama's, but it's a closed system." Naruto straightened, grinning despite the obvious fatigue. "Want to see something cooler?" Before Kirk could respond, Naruto extended his hand. Blue energy swirled and condensed, forming that same sphere Kirk had seen in sickbay. But this one was larger, angrier, spinning with barely controlled fury. The Rasengan howled, distorting the air around it. This is a basic Rasengan, just rotation and chakra control. But with wind-nature transformation, the sphere changed, sprouting 4 blade-like extensions that shrieked against the cargo bay's acoustics. Rasen Shuriken, it's my signature technique, cuts on a cellular level, disrupts energy flow, and... "Mr. Uzumaki!" Spock's voice cut through sharply. "Discontinue immediately. That technique is generating subspace fluctuations. If you release it in here, you could compromise the ship's structural integrity." Naruto's eyes widened, and he clenched his fist, forcibly dispersing the technique. The energy bled away with a sound like tearing silk. "Sorry, I wasn't going to actually throw it. Just show you the form." Kirk's heart rate slowly returned to normal. The destructive potential he just witnessed, deployed by a 19-year-old with reflexes honed by war, painted a very clear picture. This wasn't just some kid with party tricks. This was a weapon, trained and tested by combat, wearing a smile and an orange jumpsuit. "Captain," Scotty's voice came through the comm, sounding shaken. "That last bit caused fluctuations in the warp containment field. Whatever that energy is, it interacts with subspace in ways I've never seen. If he'd released it..." "I understand, Mr. Scott." Kirk kept his voice level. "Mr. Uzumaki, return to the observation deck. I think we've seen enough for now." When Naruto entered the observation area, the exertion showed clearly. Sweat beaded his forehead, and his breathing came heavier than before. But his eyes still held that bright determination, that refusal to show weakness. "I have more," he said. "Sage mode, Kurama's chakra cloak, the full transformation. But those take even more energy. And if using the Rasen Shuriken already caused problems with your ship, we'll save advanced demonstrations for another time," Kirk said, "preferably on a planet's surface, far from critical systems." He studied Naruto's face, seeing past the bravado to the exhaustion beneath. "You've proven your point. You're powerful, trained, and disciplined enough to stop when ordered. That's more than some Starfleet officers manage." "Captain," Spock said, "I must advise caution. Mr. Uzumaki's abilities, while remarkable, represent an unknown variable. His presence on this ship is exactly why we're here, Mr. Spock." Kirk turned to face his science officer. "To seek out new life and new civilizations, Naruto is both. And I'll be damned if we treat a person asking for help like a threat just because he's different." Naruto's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through the confident exterior. You really mean that? You're not afraid of what's inside me? What I can do?" Kirk thought of his own experiences with beings of immense power. The Organians, the Metrons, even Gary Mitchell. Power didn't make someone a monster. Choices did. And so far, every choice this kid had made spoke to character, not threat. "I mean it," Kirk said. "Welcome to Starfleet, Cadet Uzumaki. We'll get you home. But until then, you've got a lot to learn about this universe." He smiled. "And I think we've got quite a bit to learn from you, too." Naruto's grin could have lit up the entire ship. "Believe it, Captain. I'll be the best cadet you've ever seen." McCoy muttered something about enthusiasm and needing a drink, but Kirk caught the doctor's slight smile. Even Spock's expression held something that might, in very dim light, if you squinted, resemble approval. "Mr. Spock," Kirk said, Work with Mr. Uzumaki on understanding his abilities from a scientific perspective. Doctor, continue monitoring his physiology. Scotty, I want you to analyze how his energy interacts with our systems. He looked at Naruto. And you, Cadet, report to Lieutenant Uhura for a primer on Federation Standard, Universal Translator Protocols, and basic Starfleet procedures. Training starts at 0800 hours tomorrow. 0800? Naruto asked. 8 in the morning ship time. Got it. I'll be there early. Believe it. As the group dispersed, Kirk remained at the observation window, looking out at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, answers waited. How Naruto arrived, how to return him, what his presence meant for the fabric of reality itself. But those were tomorrow's problems. Today, the Enterprise had gained something precious. Potential. Raw, enthusiastic, powerful potential wrapped in orange and determination. Kirk had a feeling this was going to be an interesting voyage. The USS Enterprise ran on schedules that would have made even the most disciplined Shinobi Academy look relaxed. Naruto discovered this at 0530 hours, when the ship's computer cheerfully announced Alpha shift begins in 2 hours and 30 minutes, directly into his borrowed quarters. A small cabin on Deck 7 that Yeoman Rand had hastily prepared the night before. He'd spent the evening reading from a datapad about Federation Standard and Starfleet protocols, most of which blurred together into a confusion of regulations, rank structures, and something called Prime Directive that seemed really important, but also really complicated. The universal translator handled the language barrier, but context was harder. These people didn't have villages or cage. They had a federation spanning hundreds of worlds, and somehow they'd figured out how to make it work without constantly fighting wars. Well, mostly without wars, according to the historical files. There'd been something about Klingons and Romulans and a lot of other names Naruto couldn't keep straight yet. He arrived at the mess hall at 06:01 p.m., figuring early was better than late. The room was already half full with crew members in those red, blue, and gold uniforms, all holding trays of food that came out of machines in the wall. No ramen shops, no ichirakus, just food synthesizers? It's called a replicator, a cheerful voice said behind him. Naruto turned to find a young officer with an accent he couldn't place. Russian, maybe? The universal translator supplied context, but not always cultural details. You must be Cadet Uzumaki. I am Ensign Pavel Chekhov, navigator. The captain told us to help you settle in. Thanks, Naruto grinned. So, how does this work? Do I just ask for food? Yes. Tell the replicator what you want, and it will synthesize it from the molecular database. Most crew members have favorite meals programmed. Chekhov demonstrated, ordering something called Chicken Kiev that materialized in seconds. Your turn. Naruto stepped up to the replicator panel, hope and skepticism warring in his chest. Miso ramen with pork, extra noodles, medium broth? The machine hummed. A bowl materialized, steam rising from golden broth, noodles visible beneath sliced pork and green onions. Naruto grabbed it, inhaled the scent, and took a cautious bite. It was almost right. The texture was perfect, the temperature ideal, but something about the flavor felt artificial, like the machine understood the concept of ramen, but not the soul of it. Still, after surviving on military rations during the war and whatever Kurama's chakra could sustain him on in emergencies, it was pretty damn good. The machine has potential, Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind, but it lacks the chaos of true cooking. Everything here is too ordered. You're a giant chakra fox. Since when do you care about cooking? I have lived 1,000 years, Kit. I have tasted meals through my jinchuriki. That bowl is acceptable, but it is not art. Naruto snorted, earning a curious look from Chekhov as they sat down. My friend has opinions about the food, he explained. Your friend? Chekhov's eyes widened with understanding. The Kurama? The fox spirit? He can communicate? All the time. Sometimes I wish he couldn't. Naruto grinned as Kurama growled indignantly in his mindscape. But yeah, we share headspace. Makes for interesting conversations. More crew members were staring now, trying to be subtle about it and failing. Naruto was used to stares. The Leaf Village had stared at him his entire childhood. Some with hatred, some with fear, eventually some with respect. These stares felt different. Curious mostly, maybe a little nervous. A large man with a Scottish accent dropped his tray on the table with enough force to rattle the dishes. "So you're the lad who survived vacuum and has a demon in his belly?" Chief Engineer Scott's eyes were sharp despite his casual tone. "Captain says you can create energy that plays havoc with warp fields." "I didn't mean to cause problems," Naruto said quickly. "I'm still figuring out how chakra works in this universe. Everything feels heavier, like I'm trying to run underwater." Scotty's expression shifted to professional interest. "Energy interaction with local dimensional physics. Aye, that makes sense if you're from another reality entirely. Your energy signature doesn't match this universe's quantum constants." He pulled out a data pad covered in equations that made Naruto's head hurt. "I've been running models. If I'm right, your body is trying to convert energy using rules that don't fully apply here. It's like," he paused, searching for an analogy, "like trying to run old Earth machinery on Vulcan power sources. It'll work, but inefficiently." "Can you fix it?" Hope sparked in Naruto's chest. "Fix? Lad, I'm an engineer, not a miracle worker." Scotty grinned. "But I can maybe help you adapt. If you're willing to spend time in engineering, let me run some tests. We might find a way to recalibrate your energy conversion process to match local physics. Won't be quick, mind you." "I'll do it. Anything that helps me get back to full strength." Naruto slurped his ramen enthusiastically. "Back home, I could make 1,000 shadow clones without breaking a sweat. Here, 50 wipes me out." 1,000? Chekhov's fork clattered to his plate. "You can divide yourself into 1,000 copies?" "On a good day, yeah. I once made enough clones to fight an entire army." Naruto caught the looks around the table. Impressed, alarmed, calculating. "But that was with natural chakra to draw from. Here I've got to be more careful with my reserves." The mess hall doors opened, and Lieutenant Uhura entered with Commander Spock. The Vulcan's presence commanded immediate attention, not through intimidation like some of the Jonin back home, but through sheer intellectual weight. Everyone in the room seemed to sit a little straighter. "Cadet Uzumaki," Uhura said warmly, her smile genuine. "Ready for your orientation?" Naruto stood, grabbing his ramen bowl. "Can I bring this?" "Of course." She gestured to the door. "We'll start with communications protocols, then move to ship operations, and Mr. Spock will handle science fundamentals this afternoon." As they walked the corridors, Uhura explained the Enterprise's layout with the patience of someone who'd trained dozens of new crew members. Deck 1 is the bridge, command center. Deck 5 houses main engineering. Deck 7 is where your quarters are assigned. The ship has 23 decks total, crew complement of 430, currently operating at 94% capacity. "That's, a lot of people in one place," Naruto said. "The Leaf Village has maybe a few thousand total, and we spread out across the whole village. You're all just in this one ship? Space travel requires efficiency. Every centimeter is utilized." She paused at a turbo lift, calling for Deck 2. "You'll find Starfleet is very different from your shinobi system. We don't keep secrets between departments the way your villages apparently keep secrets from each other." "Well, some secrets are necessary," Naruto argued. "Jutsu techniques, village defenses, classified missions." "And those secrets led to wars," Spock interrupted, joining them in the turbo lift. "According to your own account, your world experienced 4 global conflicts, each more devastating than the last. The Federation learned centuries ago that transparency and cooperation prevent conflicts more effectively than secrecy and competition." Naruto bristled. "You don't know what it was like. The villages had to protect themselves. Trust had to be earned through blood?" Spock's eyebrow rose. "Through children trained as soldiers? Through weapons sealed into infants?" His tone remained perfectly neutral, but the words struck like kunai. "Your system perpetuated cycles of violence that required a war to finally break. The Federation offers an alternative." "Mr. Spock," Uhura said warningly, but Naruto was already responding. "Years of defending his world against people who didn't understand rising up. Yeah, we had problems. Big ones. But we also had loyalty. Bonds that nothing could break. People willing to die for each other. Your federation sounds great with all its rules and cooperation, but have your people ever fought for something they actually believed in? Or do you just follow orders because some directive says so? The turbo lift stopped. Spock turned to face Naruto fully, and for the first time, Naruto saw something other than cool logic in those Vulcan features. I am half human, Cadet Uzumaki. I have spent my entire life navigating between two worlds, one driven by emotion and one by logic. I assure you, Federation citizens believe in what they fight for, but we have learned to choose when fighting is necessary rather than treating it as the first solution to every problem. The doors opened onto a corridor Naruto didn't recognize. Spock stepped out. Your orientation will continue at 1300 hours. I suggest you use the intervening time to consider the difference between passion and wisdom. He walked away, back rigid with Vulcan composure. That went well, Naruto muttered. Uhura sighed. Mr. Spock values logic above most things, but he's not wrong about everything. Your world system did create cycles of violence. She touched his shoulder gently. But he also doesn't understand what it means to grow up as you did. Hated, isolated, with a power you couldn't control and a dream everyone said was impossible. Give him time, and maybe try to listen as much as you argue. Naruto looked down at his empty ramen bowl. Somewhere in the conversation, he'd finished it without noticing. I don't like people insulting my home. My precious people fought to make peace. They died for it. And this Vulcan guy acts like we're all just violent kids who didn't know any better. He acts like someone who's seen too many wars, Uhura said quietly. The Federation has fought its share, Naruto. Against the Klingons, against Khan, against threats that wanted to destroy everything we'd built. We're not perfect, but we try to do better than our past. That's all anyone can do. The communications officer led him to her station, a small office filled with displays showing dozens of languages, alien scripts, and audio waveforms. Now let's talk about how we actually maintain communication across hundreds of member worlds with thousands of languages. By 1300 hours, Naruto's head was spinning with information about subspace frequencies, universal translator protocols, and the 17 different ways to accidentally insult a Tellarite. He reported to Science Lab 3, where Spock waited with tricorders, data pads, and an expression of infinite patience that somehow felt more intimidating than any sensei's anger. Cadet Uzumaki. Spock gestured to a chair surrounded by scanning equipment. We will begin by establishing baseline readings of your chakra in various states. Please sit. Naruto sat, eyeing the equipment warily. This isn't going to hurt, right? The scanners are non-invasive. However, I will require you to demonstrate your abilities in controlled increments so we can measure energy output, conversion efficiency, and subspace interaction. Spock activated several displays. Begin with your smallest technique. Naruto formed a basic hand seal, channeling a tiny amount of chakra into his hand until it glowed faintly blue. The equipment beeped and hummed, displays filling with data that meant nothing to him, but clearly fascinated Spock. Remarkable, the Vulcan murmured. You are converting biological energy into a quasi-physical state. The energy exists simultaneously as matter and pure energy, defying conventional particle physics. The efficiency ratio is approximately 73% in this environment, significantly below your reported 95% efficiency in your home dimension. So Scotty was right? It's like my chakra doesn't fit right here? And crude but essentially accurate analogy. Spock adjusted his scanners. Increase output to 25% capacity. They worked through progressively larger chakra demonstrations, shadow clones, 5 this time, to avoid exhausting Naruto. A partial Rasengan, even a brief flash of Kurama's red chakra that made every alarm in the lab scream warnings until Naruto pulled it back. Fascinating, Spock said for the dozenth time. When you access Kurama's chakra, the energy signature changes entirely. It reads as a separate entity temporarily merging with your own life force. The psychological integration required to maintain coherence during such a merger. It wasn't always integrated, Naruto admitted. For years, Kurama and I fought each other. Every time I used his chakra, it felt like I was burning from the inside out. The rage, the hatred, it nearly consumed me more than once. Spock looked up from his displays. something almost like curiosity in his expression. Yet you achieved integration. How? I stopped treating him like a tool and started treating him like a person. Naruto met Spock's gaze. Everyone told me the Ninetales was just a mindless beast, a weapon to be controlled. But when I actually talked to him, listened to his anger and pain, I realized he was just like me. Alone, hated, used by people who didn't care about him as anything except a power source. The kid speaks truth, Kurama's voice emerged, Naruto's eyes flashing red momentarily. For centuries, humans saw only my power. They sealed me, bound me, forced me to fight their wars. But this one, Naruto's voice returned to normal as Kurama retreated. He saw me, not what I could do for him, but who I actually was. Spock was silent for a long moment, his fingers still on the tricorder. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight Naruto hadn't heard before. I judged your world's system harshly earlier. I may have failed to consider the complexity of your individual circumstances. Was that an apology? Naruto grinned. Because if Vulcans are always this formal, I'm going to need a translator for the translator. The corner of Spock's mouth twitched. It might have been a smile or a facial spasm. With Vulcans, it was hard to tell. It was an acknowledgement of incomplete data. I based my assessment on systemic analysis without accounting for personal growth trajectories. This was illogical. You know what's illogical? Naruto leaned forward, thinking that just because a system is broken, the people in it can't be amazing. My sensei Kakashi, my friend Sasuke, Sakura, Hinata, they all grew up in that same messed up system, and they became some of the best people I know. The system needed to change, and we changed it. But that doesn't mean we were wrong for being part of it. Spock considered this, processing. Your argument has merit. The Federation itself evolved from Earth's fractured nation-states and multiple global conflicts. Judging historical systems by current standards is a logical fallacy. He paused. I may have been overly critical. Progress, Kurama rumbled with satisfaction. And maybe I was too defensive, Naruto admitted. You're right that the shinobi system had problems. Big ones. I spent my whole life trying to fix them because I saw how much they hurt people. He grinned. Guess we're both still learning, huh? Learning is a continuous process, Spock agreed, even for Vulcans. Especially, he stopped himself, something flickering across his features. Especially for those caught between different worlds. The lab doors opened, and Kirk entered with his characteristic, confident stride. How's our cadet doing, Mr. Spock? Cadet Uzumaki demonstrates remarkable adaptability, both physically and psychologically. His energy manipulation techniques, while unconventional, follow consistent internal logic. With proper training in Federation science, he could achieve significant advancement in cross-dimensional energy theory. That's Spock for the kids doing great, Kirk translated, smiling. Good. Because we've got a situation that requires all hands, including yours, Cadet, we're approaching Argalius II for shore leave and diplomatic relations. It's a peaceful world, known for its hospitality, but their government specifically requested Starfleet presence for a cultural exchange, and I think having a representative from another dimension might make for interesting discussion. You want me to go to an alien planet? Naruto's eyes widened. An actual alien planet with alien people? Argalians are humanoid, quite friendly, and their culture values emotional openness, which I think you'll find familiar. Kirk's expression turned serious. But this is also a test, Cadet. How you present yourself represents not just you, but potentially your entire world to the Federation. Can you handle that responsibility? Naruto thought of all the times he'd represented the Leaf Village, as a genin on his first major mission, as the hero who defeated pain, as a symbol of the Allied shinobi forces. The weight of carrying others' hopes, the pressure of being watched, judged, evaluated. He'd handled it before. He could handle it again. Believe it, Captain, Naruto said, standing. I won't let you down. Kirk nodded approvingly. Good. Shore leave begins in 6 hours. Dismissed, Cadet. Get some rest. Tomorrow you meet your first alien civilization. As Naruto left the lab, Kurama chuckled in his mindscape. Another world, another test. Some things never change, kid. Yeah, Naruto thought, grinning as he walked the Enterprise's corridors, crew members nodding as he passed. But I'm getting pretty good at tests. The stars beyond the viewport seemed brighter somehow, closer, full of possibility. Tomorrow he'd stand on an alien world. Today he'd learned that even logical Vulcans could admit when they were wrong, and that the Federation, for all its differences from his home, wasn't so different where it mattered. They were all just people, trying their best in an impossible universe. He could work with that. Believe it. Argelius II hung in the view screen like a jewel. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in patterns that reminded Naruto of the training grounds outside the Leaf Village. Beautiful, peaceful, utterly alien despite looking almost like home. Standard orbit achieved, Captain, Sulu reported from the helm. Kirk stood from his command chair, tugging his gold uniform tunic straight in that habitual gesture Naruto had already learned meant the captain was switching into diplomat mode. Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, Lieutenant Uhura, and Cadet Uzumaki, you're with me. Mr. Sulu, you have the con. Aye, sir. In the transporter room, Naruto watched with barely contained excitement as Chief Kyle worked the controls. Scotty had explained the theory: matter-energy conversion, pattern buffers, Heisenberg compensators that somehow made the impossible possible, but understanding it intellectually didn't prepare him for actually experiencing it. Ever been teleported before, lad? Scotty asked, grinning at Naruto's expression. I've used the Flying Thunder God technique. That's instant teleportation through space-time seals. But that was, like, going through a door really fast. This is... Naruto gestured at the transporter pad. You're going to turn me into energy and rebuild me somewhere else? Aye, completely safe. Probably. Scotty's grin widened at Naruto's alarm. I'm joking, lad. Transporter's one of the safest systems on the ship. Safer than turbo lifts, statistically. I do not like this machine, Kurama growled. What happens to me during the conversion? Do I remain conscious? What if the machine cannot properly reconstruct? Kurama, you're literally made of chakra. You're already energy. This shouldn't even affect you differently than me. That does not mean I enjoy being disassembled by primitive technology. Kirk stepped onto the pad, gesturing for the others to join him. Naruto took his place, trying to look confident, despite Kurama's unease bleeding through their connection. The transporter room hummed with building energy, and Scotty's hands moved across the controls with practiced precision. Energizing, the world dissolved into light and sensation. For one infinite instant, Naruto felt himself scattered across space, every molecule singing with energy. Consciousness stretched impossibly thin. Then reality snapped back, and he stumbled slightly on solid ground that definitely wasn't the Enterprise's transporter pad. Whoa, he breathed, looking at his hands as if expecting them to be different. That was disorienting the first time, McCoy said, steadying him with a hand on his shoulder. You get used to it, unfortunately. They stood in a plaza of white stone warmed by twin suns, surrounded by architecture that flowed rather than stood. Organic curves, open archways, buildings that seemed grown rather than built. Music drifted from somewhere, string instruments playing melodies that made Naruto think of wind through trees. Argelians filled the plaza, humanoid but distinctly alien with their elaborate clothing and jewel tones, their movements graceful and unhurried. Many stopped to watch the Starfleet officers materialize, curiosity and welcome written clearly on alien features. Captain Kirk! A man approached, tall, robed in deep purple, with a smile that could have powered the Enterprise's impulse engines. Welcome to Argelius. I am Prefect Jarrus, administrator of this district. We are honored by your presence. Kirk clasped hands with the prefect in what appeared to be a local greeting. The honor is ours, Prefect. May I introduce my officers? My first officer and science officer, Commander Spock. Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Leonard McCoy. Communications Officer, Lieutenant Uhura. And, Kirk gestured to Naruto with particular emphasis, Cadet Naruto Uzumaki, recently arrived from another dimension. Jarrus's eyes widened with delight. Another dimension? How marvelous! You must tell us everything. But please, first, he gestured to a nearby building with the fluid architecture Naruto was already beginning to appreciate. Join us for refreshment. Argalius prides itself on hospitality to travelers from far places. Another dimension certainly qualifies as far. The building interior was even more impressive. High ceilings, natural light filtering through crystalline panels, cushioned seating arranged in conversational clusters. Argelians moved through the space with the same unhurried grace, and several approached with trays of food and drink that smelled incredible. Naruto's stomach growled audibly. He'd been too nervous to eat much before beaming down. Finally, the kit shows sense, Kurama rumbled with approval. Food first, diplomacy second. McCoy grabbed Naruto's arm before he could dive at the refreshment table. Whoa there, son. Let me scan these first. Different planets, different biochemistry. Last thing we need is you having an allergic reaction in the middle of first contact. Everything is safe for human consumption, Jarrus assured them. We have hosted many Starfleet crews. We know your dietary requirements quite well. McCoy scanned anyway, once a doctor, always paranoid. Then nodded. You're clear, kid. Try not to eat everything in sight. Naruto tried. He really did. But after weeks of replicated food on the Enterprise and the stress of adapting to a universe without natural chakra, actual fresh food tasted like heaven. He was 3 pastries and 2 fruit items of unknown origin into his sampling when he noticed Jarrus watching him with amused fascination. You enjoy our offerings? The prefect asked. This is amazing, Naruto said around a mouthful of something that tasted like apples mixed with cinnamon in starlight. You guys cook this? Like actual cooking? Of course. Argelians believe that food prepared with emotion and care tastes better than any synthesized meal. It is one of our core philosophies that personal touch, creativity, and joy improve everything they encounter. I like these people, Kurama announced. They understand quality. Kirk had settled into conversation with Jarrus and several other Argelian officials, discussing trade agreements and cultural exchange programs with the easy diplomacy of someone who'd done this 100 times. Spock stood nearby, tricorder out, scanning local architecture and technology with scientific interest. Uhura was already deep in conversation with a group of Argelian musicians, discussing comparative musical theory, which left Naruto standing awkwardly with a plate of alien pastries, feeling suddenly like the kid who didn't quite belong at the adults' table. Cadet Uzumaki, an Argelian woman, approached, younger than Jarrus, with hair that seemed to shift colors in the light. I am Saibo, daughter of Jarrus. My father mentioned you are from another dimension? This sounds like a tale worth hearing. Yeah. Naruto set down his plate, wiping crumbs from his jumpsuit. I'm from a world where people can manipulate energy called chakra to do, well, pretty much anything if you train hard enough. I got pulled through some kind of rift and ended up in your universe. And Captain Kirk took you in? Gave you place on his ship? Saibo's eyes held genuine warmth. This is very Argelian of him. We believe in welcoming the lost, offering hospitality to those far from home. It's been weird, Naruto admitted. Everything here is so different. Where I come from, we have villages and ninja, and pretty much constant conflict between nations. Here, you've got hundreds of planets working together, ships that travel faster than light, and rules about not interfering with other cultures even when they're in trouble. Ah, the Prime Directive. Saibo nodded knowingly. It troubles you? Yeah, I get the idea. Don't force your values on other people. But what if those people are suffering? What if you could help but choose not to because of some rule? Saibo guided him toward a balcony overlooking the city. Below, Argelians went about their lives in apparent peace. Marketplaces, public gardens, children playing in fountains. 20 years ago, she said quietly, Argelius was very different. We had crime, violence, fear. Our people had forgotten joy. Then the Federation made first contact, and we had a choice: reject their influence to preserve our culture, or accept their help and risk losing ourselves. What happened? We chose a middle path. We accepted some Federation technology, some philosophy, but kept what made us Argelian, our emphasis on emotion, pleasure, hospitality. We changed, but on our terms. She looked at Naruto with understanding beyond her years. The Prime Directive is not about refusing to help. It is about letting people choose their own path, even when that path is difficult. Because growth earned is stronger than growth given. Naruto thought about his own journey. The years of training, the failures, the times he'd nearly given up. If someone had just handed him power, would he have become the person he was? Or would he have become another Orochimaru, obsessed with strength for its own sake? I never thought about it like that, he said slowly. Most do not at first. Saibo smiled. You remind me of Captain Kirk, actually. He struggles with the Prime Directive too. He follows it, but with his heart always questioning. This is not weakness. It is proof that rules serve people, not the other way around. A commotion from inside drew their attention. Raised voices, unusual in a place as peaceful as Argelius. Naruto and Saibo rushed back to find Jairus in heated discussion with a man in darker robes, his expression twisted with anger. I cannot keep ignoring it, the man was saying. 3 murders in 2 months. The old ways are returning, and you stand here entertaining off-worlders instead of protecting your people. Councilman Hengist, Jairus said with strained patience, we have investigators. Investigators who find nothing. No evidence, no suspects, just bodies drained of life. Hengist turned his glare on Kirk. Perhaps your Starfleet can explain why violence returns to Argelius the moment your ships arrive? The temperature in the room dropped. Kirk's expression remained diplomatic, but Naruto saw the calculation behind those eyes. Starfleet presence has never correlated with increased violence on member worlds. If you're experiencing crimes, we'd be happy to offer assistance. We need no assistance. We need you to leave. Hengist, Jairus' voice cracked with authority. You overstep. Captain Kirk is our guest, and Argelius does not treat guests with such hostility. But Hengist was already storming toward the exit. When the next body appears, Prefect, remember that you chose Federation presence over Argelian safety. Silence followed his departure. Jairus sighed heavily. My apologies, Captain. Hengist has always been traditional. The murders have unsettled him. Murders? McCoy stepped forward, his doctor's instinct immediately engaged. What kind of murders? Women, Saibo said quietly. Her earlier joy vanished. Found in their homes, drained completely of blood. No wounds, no signs of struggle, as if life simply left them. That is not natural, Kurama growled. I have seen death in many forms. This sounds like something feeding. Naruto's shinobi training kicked in before his Starfleet cadet status. How long between murders? Any pattern to the victims? Locations? Jairus looked surprised. You investigate crimes in your world? Ninja take all kinds of missions. Tracking criminals, gathering intelligence, protection details. Naruto's mind was already working the problem. If there's a pattern, we can predict the next target. Set up surveillance. Catch whoever's doing this. Kirk caught Naruto's eye, a slight shake of his head warning him to slow down. But there was also approval there. The kid's instincts were good, even if his diplomacy needed work. The Federation offers its full cooperation, Kirk said formally. If there's a threat to Argelius, Starfleet will help neutralize it. But he looked meaningfully at Naruto. We respect local authority. Prefect Jairus, if you request our assistance, we'll provide it. The decision is yours. Jairus studied Kirk for a long moment, then Naruto, then nodded slowly. I would be grateful for any help you can offer. These murders violate everything Argelius stands for. If they continue... He didn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. Paradise was bleeding, and fear was taking root. Mr. Spock, Kirk said, coordinate with local authorities. Get all data on the murders. Dr. McCoy, I want your medical analysis of the victims. Lieutenant Uhura, establish communication protocols for emergency response. And me? Naruto asked. Kirk's expression was serious. You wanted to be Starfleet, Cadet. This is what that means. Helping people who need it, even when the threat is unknown. You're assigned to Mr. Spock's investigation team. Follow his lead, learn his methods, and for God's sake, don't attack anyone without direct orders. Yes, sir. Naruto's grin was fierce. Finally, something he understood. A mission, a threat, people who needed protecting. This was what he'd trained for his entire life. As the team split up to begin their investigation, Naruto caught Saibo's eye. She looked frightened now, the earlier warmth replaced by worry. He gave her a thumbs up and his best confident grin. "Don't worry," he said. "We'll catch whoever's doing this. That's my ninja way. I never go back on my word." Saibo's smile was small but genuine. "I believe you, Cadet Uzumaki." Outside, the twin sons of Argelius II began their descent toward the horizon, painting the peaceful city in shades of orange and gold. Beautiful, serene. But somewhere in that beauty, something was hunting. And Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village and provisional Starfleet cadet, was going to stop it. He'd face demons, gods, and the darkness in his own soul. One murderer on a peaceful planet? Believe it, this would be over soon. The Argelian security headquarters was nothing like the interrogation rooms Naruto had known in the Leaf Village. No stark walls, no deliberate intimidation. Instead, the building featured the same flowing architecture as everything else on the planet. Soft lighting, comfortable seating, and walls displaying abstract art that somehow made even murder investigation feel less grim. Spock stood at a central display table, holographic images of 3 crime scenes rotating slowly in the air above it. Naruto leaned in, studying each one with the tactical eye Kakashi-sensei had drilled into him during countless missions. Victim 1, Kara, age 26, discovered 17 days ago, Spock narrated with clinical precision. Victim 2, Lana, age 23, discovered 9 days ago. Victim 3, Morla, age 31, discovered yesterday. All found in their homes, all drained completely of blood with no visible wounds. No signs of forced entry, no witnesses. How is that even possible? Naruto circled the holographic display, looking for details. No wounds means no way for blood to leave the body, and no forced entry means they knew their attacker? Or the attacker possessed abilities that rendered physical entry unnecessary. Spock manipulated the display, bringing up medical scans. Dr. McCoy examined the bodies. His analysis indicates the blood was removed through an unknown process that left cellular structures intact. Not mechanical extraction, something that drew the blood through the skin itself. Dark chakra, Kurama growled in Naruto's mind. I have seen techniques like this. Blood manipulation jutsu, forbidden in most villages. Some shinobi could drain opponents dry without leaving marks. But we're not in our universe anymore. Could someone here have similar abilities? Power takes many forms, Kit. Just because they call it something else doesn't mean it's different at its core. Cadet Uzumaki, Spock's voice pulled him from his internal dialogue. You appear distracted. Sorry, Naruto focused back on the display. I was thinking, in my world, there are forbidden techniques that could do something like this? Jutsu that manipulate blood or drain life force. Could there be something similar here? This universe does not operate on chakra-based physics, Spock said, but his tone held consideration rather than dismissal. However, various species possess biological abilities that approximate what you describe. Certain energy-based life forms, parasitic entities, even some telepathic species can drain neural energy. The question is, which category applies to our murderer? The door opened and McCoy entered, datapad in hand and expression grim. I've completed the autopsies. Jim's not going to like this. Doctor? Spock prompted. All 3 victims show identical patterns. Complete exsanguination, as we knew. But what we didn't know, McCoy pulled up cellular scans that made even Spock's eyebrow rise, is that their emotional centers were also drained. The limbic system, the parts of the brain that process fear, pleasure, love, completely depleted of neurochemical markers. It's like something fed on their terror before taking their blood. Naruto felt ice slide down his spine. Fed on fear? That sounds like a psychic entity, Spock finished. Fascinating and deeply concerning. Fascinating? McCoy's voice rose. Spock, something is terrorizing women and draining them dry. And you find it fascinating? The scientific implications are significant, Doctor. However, Spock turned back to the display. You are correct that stopping the entity takes precedence over studying it. Kirk's voice crackled through Spock's communicator. Mr. Spock, report to Prefect Jarrus's office immediately. We have a development. The office was crowded when they arrived. Kirk stood with Jarrus and several Ardulian officials, but dominating the room's attention was Councilman Hengist, looking simultaneously smug and horrified. Found in the market district not an hour ago, Hengist was saying. Another woman, another murder. While your Starfleet officers investigate, the killing continues. Jarrus looked 20 years older than he had that morning. Captain Kirk, we need to see the crime scene immediately, Kirk interrupted, his command voice brooking no argument. Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, with me, Cadet Uzumaki. He paused, clearly weighing options. You too. If your experience with unusual phenomena can help, now's the time. The market district was in chaos when they arrived. Crowds had gathered despite local security trying to maintain order, voices raised in fear and anger. The body lay in an alley between two market stalls, partially covered by a blanket that didn't quite hide the woman's peaceful expression, as if she'd simply laid down to sleep and never woken. McCoy knelt immediately, tricorder out, scanning. Same pattern, complete blood loss, no visible wounds, neurochemical depletion in the emotional centers. He looked up at Kirk. Jim, this one's fresh. Killed within the last 30 minutes, which means the killer might still be nearby. Kirk's hand moved to his phaser. Mr. Spock, scan for unusual energy signatures. Cadet, can your abilities detect anything? Naruto closed his eyes, extending his senses the way Jiraiya had taught him during Sage Mode training. Even without natural energy to draw on, he could still feel the flow of life around him. The crowd's fear, the security officer's tension, something else. Something wrong. There, he said, eyes snapping open, pointing toward a building on the alley's far end. I feel something up there. It's not chakra, but it's close. Like twisted life energy? Spock's tricorder beeped urgently. Confirmed. Unknown energy signature, 4th floor of that structure. It's moving. Let's go! Naruto was already running before Kirk could give the order, his shinobi speed carrying him faster than any human should move. He heard Kirk curse behind him, heard running footsteps following, but his focus narrowed to the signature he'd felt. Predatory, hungry, wrong. He burst through the building's entrance and took the stairs 3 at a time. 4th floor, door on the left, the twisted energy practically screaming now. He hit the door with a chakra-enhanced kick that tore it from its hinges. The room beyond was dark, but Naruto's eyes had adapted to worse. A figure crouched in the corner, humanoid, but wrong, its form seeming to flicker between solid and something else. Red eyes gleamed in the darkness, and when it spoke, the voice carried layers like multiple beings talking at once. Hunter child, you reek of fox spirit, not of this reality. What are you? Naruto demanded, chakra already gathering in his hand. I am hunger. I am fear made manifest. I am Red Jack, and I have fed on terror across 1,000 worlds for 1,000 years. The entity moved, fast as lightning, but Naruto was faster. Years of fighting S-rank threats had honed his reflexes to supernatural levels. He dodged, formed hand seals, and slammed his palm against the floor. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 5 clones erupted into existence, surrounding the entity. It shrieked, a sound that made reality itself seem to bend, and lashed out with tendrils of energy that passed through the clones as if they were smoke. Illusions! You dare! They're not illusions. The real Naruto dropped from above, Rasengan forming in his hand, the blue sphere howling with contained fury. They're real, just like this. He drove the Rasengan into the entity's center mass. For one moment, solid met solid, energy met energy, and the entity screamed in pain that wasn't physical but something deeper. Then it exploded outward, dispersing into mist that fled through the walls. Naruto landed hard, breathing heavily as Kirk and Spock rushed into the room with phasers drawn. What the hell was that? Kirk demanded. Trouble, Naruto said. Big trouble. That thing, it wasn't just killing for food, it was enjoying it, feeding on fear itself. Spock's tricorder was going haywire. The energy signature is dispersing across the city. Whatever it is, it can shift between corporeal and incorporeal states at will. Captain, our phasers would be ineffective against such an entity. But my Rasengan heard it, Naruto said. I felt it connect. Chakra can hit things that normal attacks can't. Spirits, demons, energy beings. If that thing is made of energy, Kirk's expression hardened with decision. Then we need to force it into solid form and hit it with everything we've got. He tapped his communicator. Kirk to Enterprise. Mr. Scott, I need you to scan the city for the energy signature Mr. Spock is transmitting. That's our killer, and we need to track it. Scotty's voice crackled back. Aye, Captain. Scanning now. I'm reading. Captain, that energy signature is spreading. It's not fleeing, it's hunting. Multiple locations simultaneously. How is that possible? It's not one entity, Spock said, realization dawning. Or rather it is, but it can divide itself and spread its consciousness across multiple manifestations. We are not dealing with a serial killer. We are dealing with an intelligent energy being that feeds on fear and blood, capable of manifesting anywhere terror exists. Red Jack, Naruto remembered the name it had spoken. It called itself Red Jack. Kirk's face went white. I know that name. Enterprise records mention it. An entity encountered on Earth centuries ago. Jack the Ripper in London. The murders stopped there and appeared on other worlds. Rigel 4, Deneb 2, now here. It jumps from planet to planet, feeding on fear, growing stronger with each kill. Then how do we stop it? Naruto demanded. If it can go anywhere, be anywhere. We trap it, Spock said. Force it into a confined space where it cannot disperse, then destroy it with sufficient energy output. Or I hit it with a Rasen shuriken, Naruto offered. That thing cuts on a cellular level. If this Red Jack is made of energy, the Rasen shuriken should shred its pattern completely. Kirk looked at him sharply. You said that technique caused subspace fluctuations. You could damage the city. I can control it better now. And if it's the difference between more people dying, Naruto met Kirk's eyes steadily. I'll take the risk. I didn't come this far just to watch people suffer, because I was too scared to use my full power. For a long moment, Kirk studied him. The 19-year-old kid in an orange jumpsuit who'd survived vacuum, adapted to a new universe, and was now volunteering to fight an entity that had terrorized worlds for centuries. Then the captain smiled. You remind me of someone I used to know. All right, Cadet, but we do this smart. Mr. Spock, work with Naruto on a containment strategy. We lure Red Jack to a location where collateral damage is minimal, trap it, and let our shinobi friends show us what interdimensional techniques can do to energy-based entities. Captain, Spock said, Argelian culture emphasizes emotion and pleasure. Red Jack feeds on fear. If we could somehow reverse the emotional polarity of the city, replace fear with joy, we might weaken it sufficiently for capture. Kirk's grin was sharp. Lieutenant Uhura, you were talking with those Argelian musicians? Think they could organize a citywide celebration on short notice? Uhura's voice came through the communicator, confused but game. Sir? Get every musician, every performer, every person who can make others happy to flood the streets. We're going to drown this monster in joy. And while it's weakened, Kirk looked at Naruto. We hit it with everything we've got. Now this is a plan I appreciate, Kurama rumbled with approval. Fight fear with joy. Very unlike your typical human strategy. Sounds like something I'd come up with, Naruto thought back, grinning. Exactly, which means it's either brilliant or completely insane. Probably both. Outside, sirens wailed as another murder was reported. The entity was growing bolder, feeding more frequently. Time was running out. But for the first time since arriving in this universe, Naruto felt completely in his element. A monster that fed on fear. He'd faced the Nine-Tails' hatred, Pain's despair, Obito's nihilism, and turned each into hope. One energy entity, no matter how old or hungry, he'd faced worse, and won. Let's do this, Naruto said, chakra already beginning to swirl around him. Time to show this Red Jack thing what happens when you mess with people under Starfleet protection. Kirk clapped him on the shoulder. Welcome to the team, Cadet. Let's save a planet. The hunt was on. The plan was insane by Starfleet standards and perfectly logical by shinobi logic, which told Naruto everything he needed to know about why Spock looked so uncomfortable while explaining it. To summarize, the Vulcan said, standing before a holographic map of the city, we will use Argelian cultural tendencies toward emotional expression as a weapon. Lieutenant Uhura has coordinated with local artists to initiate spontaneous celebrations across all major districts. Music, dancing, public displays of joy, anything to counter the fear Red Jack generates. You want to fight a serial killer with a party, McCoy said flatly. We want to starve an energy entity that feeds on terror, Kirk corrected. Red Jack grows stronger with fear. Remove the fear, and we remove its power source. Naruto studied the map, his tactical mind, trained through years of impossible missions, already plotting movement patterns. While everyone's celebrating, the entity will be drawn to whoever's still afraid. That'll be us, right? The hunting party? Correct, Cadet. Spock adjusted the display to show an amphitheater on the city's outskirts. We will position ourselves here, in a location sufficiently isolated to prevent civilian casualties, but close enough to the celebration that Red Jack will sense the contrast. Our fear will be a beacon drawing it away from the population centers. There's just one problem, Naruto said. I'm not afraid. Everyone turned to look at him. Son, McCoy said carefully, you're talking about facing an entity that's been killing for centuries. A little healthy fear is normal. I've faced the Nine-Tails hatred when I was 16. I've fought gods who wanted to enslave the world. I've died and come back. Naruto's voice was matter-of-fact, not boasting. Red Jack is dangerous, yeah. But I've learned something about fear. It only has power if you give it permission. And I don't give permission anymore. The kid speaks truth, Kurama's voice rumbled, and Naruto felt the fox's chakra stir within him. We have faced oblivion itself. This entity is merely old and hungry. Old things can be ended. Hungry things can be starved. Spock's eyebrow rose with what might have been respect. Fascinating. Your psychological conditioning against fear responses is remarkably advanced. However, we require Red Jack to perceive fear in order to lure it. Can you simulate the emotional signature? Naruto grinned. I spent most of my childhood pretending to be confident when I was terrified. I think I can manage pretending to be scared when I'm confident. That's my boy, McCoy muttered, and Naruto caught the doctor's slight smile. Kirk checked his phaser settings one final time. All right, people. Uhura reports the celebrations are beginning across the city. Prefect Jarrus has agreed to encourage his people to embrace joy despite the circumstances. Apparently, it's very Argelian to respond to darkness with light. They would have made excellent Fire Nation citizens, Naruto said, thinking of the will of fire that Hiruzen had taught him, fighting darkness by becoming the light. Indeed, Spock gathered his equipment. The Enterprise will maintain orbital scan patterns, tracking Red Jack's energy signature. Once the entity is contained in the amphitheater, we will have approximately 4.7 minutes before it disperses again. In that window, Cadet Uzumaki will deploy his technique. The Rasen Shuriken, Naruto confirmed. He'd been gathering natural energy, or what passed for it in this universe, for the past hour building his reserves. Without the rich chakra environment of his home dimension, it was exhausting work. But Kurama's reserves helped fill the gaps. One shot, maximum power. It'll either destroy Red Jack completely or, well, there is no or. It has to work. Reassuring, McCoy deadpanned. They transported to the amphitheater as Argelius II's twin suns set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that reminded Naruto painfully of home. The structure was ancient by local standards. Carved stone seats in concentric circles around a central performance space, open to the sky, beautiful, peaceful, perfect for a trap. Positions, Kirk ordered quietly. Spock, left flank with your sensors. McCoy, stay behind cover. You're our medical backup if this goes wrong. Naruto, center stage. You're the bait. Been bait before, Naruto said, walking to the amphitheater center. Usually works out. Usually, McCoy called after him. Like 70% of the time. From the city below, music began to rise. Not one source, but hundreds. Stringed instruments, drums, voices raised in song that carried joy like a physical force. Naruto could feel it even from this distance, the celebration pushing back against the terror that had gripped Argelius. The humans here understand, Kurama observed. Darkness cannot exist where light refuses to yield. Sounds like something Jiraiya would say. Your pervert mentor was occasionally wise between his idiocy. Naruto felt it before Spock's sensors detected it, a wrongness in the air, like reality tearing at the seams. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in an instant, and his breath misted in the suddenly frigid air. Contact, Spock reported, his voice tense. Energy signature manifesting at your position, Cadet. Multiple manifestations converging. The shadows in the amphitheater deepened, thickened, became almost solid. Then Redjack emerged. Not one form, but dozens, each one a twisted approximation of humanoid shape. Red eyes gleaming with hunger and ancient malice. Hunter child returns, the voices spoke in disharmony. Overlapping and discordant. Brings new prey, fresh fear to feast upon. Wrong, Naruto said, letting Kurama's chakra flare around him in a brilliant orange cloak. His eyes shifted to the slitted pupils of the Ninetales influence, and raw power hummed in the air. I brought an execution. The entity shrieked and lunged. Naruto moved. Shadow clones exploded into existence. Not the 5 or 10 he'd been limited to on the Enterprise, but 50, 100, 200. He'd been saving his strength for this, conserving every scrap of chakra, and now he spent it all at once in a display that made the amphitheater blur with orange-clad figures. Uzumaki Barrage! The clones attacked in perfect synchronization, each one engaging a different Redjack manifestation. Fists and feet struck with chakra-enhanced force, disrupting the entity's forms, preventing them from dispersing. But there were too many. For every manifestation that fell, 2 more appeared, drawn by the conflict, by the promise of fear that still hadn't materialized. Where is your terror? Redjack's voice thundered. I sense your power, but not your fear. How do you not fear? Because I've learned something you haven't. Naruto formed the cross seal, and 1,000 clones erupted into being, filling the amphitheater like an army. Fear only wins if you face it alone, but I'm never alone. From the city, the music swelled louder. Naruto heard Uhura's voice joining the Argelian singers, turning the celebration into something more. A declaration that joy would not be defeated, that light would hold against darkness. Now, Mr. Spock, Kirk shouted. The Vulcan activated a device at the amphitheater's edge. Federation technology adapted from containment field generators. Light erupted in a dome around the structure, and suddenly Redjack's manifestations couldn't disperse. They were trapped, forced into the same space as the ninja who refused to fear them. Impossible! No cage can hold! This one can! Naruto dismissed all his clones in an instant, their experiences flooding back to him. Every hit, every dodge, every manifestation's position. His consciousness expanded to encompass the entire battlefield in one perfect moment of tactical clarity. He drew on Kurama's chakra fully, the orange cloak intensifying into a physical shroud with 6 ethereal tails. Power unlike anything this universe had felt surged through him as he combined his own chakra with the Ninetales reserves. Wind style. Rasen Shuriken. The technique formed in his hand. A Rasengan expanded to its absolute limit, then transformed. 4 blade-like protrusions extended from the central sphere, each one screaming with chakra refined into cutting wind that could sever energy itself at the subatomic level. It howled like a living thing, desperate to be released. Redjack seemed to realize its danger. All manifestations converged into one massive form, desperately trying to breach the containment field. Its screams shifted from hunger to fear, sweet, delicious irony. For everyone you killed, Naruto pulled back his arm. For every person you terrorized across centuries. For making people afraid when they should have been safe, he threw. The Rasen Shuriken left his hand like a comet of pure destruction, trailing chakra like a meteor's tail. It crossed the amphitheater in an instant and struck Rejak's central mass. Then the universe seemed to hold its breath. The technique didn't explode outward. Instead, it expanded in a perfect sphere of cutting wind that filled the entire containment field. Trillions of microscopic chakra blades slicing through everything they touched. Rejak shrieked, a sound that carried the weight of centuries, the fury of a predator finally becoming prey. The entity tried to disperse, tried to flee, tried to slip between dimensions as it had done for millennia. But the Rasen shuriken cut deeper than matter. It severed energy patterns, disrupted quantum states, shredded the very essence that allowed Rejak to exist. The ancient being that had terrorized worlds, that had fed on fear since before Earth had cities, found itself facing something it had never encountered: complete dissolution. No! The scream cut off. The energy signatures vanished. The containment field flickered and died, containing nothing but dissipating chakra and the faint smell of ozone. Naruto collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. The technique had taken everything. Every scrap of chakra he'd saved, every bit of Kurama's reserves they could spare. His vision swam, and he felt the Ninetales' exhaustion bleeding through their connection. "Well done, Kit," Kurama rumbled weakly. "That was excessive. Effective, but excessive." "Did it work, Mr. Spock?" Kirk's voice cut through Naruto's fatigue. "Is it gone?" The Vulcan's tricorder beeped steadily, almost peacefully. "Energy signature completely dissipated. No trace of Rejak's pattern remains in the local area. Extending scan to city-wide, planet-wide. There is no trace of the entity anywhere, Captain." "It's dead?" McCoy rushed forward to where Naruto knelt, medical scanner already out. "Kid, you all right?" "Tired," Naruto managed. "Really, really tired. Used everything I had." "Well, you just killed a creature that's been murdering people for centuries." McCoy's scanner hummed over him. "I'd say a little exhaustion is acceptable. Jim, his life signs are stable. Just extreme energy depletion. He needs rest, food, and probably about a week of sleep." Kirk walked to the amphitheater's center, looking at the spot where Rejak had made its final stand. "Incredible," he said quietly. "Mr. Spock, that technique violated several known laws of physics, Captain. The energy output exceeded theoretical maximums for biological entities by a factor of, I will need to recalculate. Cadet Uzumaki essentially weaponized his life force and used it to perform quantum surgery on an energy-based consciousness." Spock looked at Naruto with open fascination. The scientific papers from this incident alone could occupy Federation researchers for decades. "Can we not?" Naruto said weakly, really tired of being studied. From the city below, the music reached a crescendo. Someone must have seen the light show, must have realized the threat was over. The celebration shifted from defiant joy to genuine relief, and the sound washed over the amphitheater like a wave. Kirk helped Naruto to his feet. "You did good, Cadet. More than good. You saved this world. Just did what any shinobi would do," Naruto said, managing a tired grin. "Protect the people who can't protect themselves. Keep your promises." His legs wobbled, and McCoy grabbed his other arm. "Come on, hero. Let's get you back to the ship before you pass out." The doctor's gruff voice couldn't quite hide the pride underneath. They transported back to the Enterprise to find the entire bridge crew waiting. Word had spread fast. The cadet from another dimension had destroyed an entity that Starfleet had failed to stop for centuries. Scotty was grinning like Naruto had just invented warp drive. Uhura had tears in her eyes. Even Sulu and Chekhov stood at attention. "Cadet Uzumaki," Kirk said formally, and the bridge went silent. "In recognition of your actions on Argelius II, which directly resulted in the elimination of an existential threat and the preservation of countless lives, I'm recommending you for commendation, pending Starfleet command approval, of course." Naruto swayed on his feet. "Does that mean I passed the test?" Kirk smiled. "With flying colors." "Good, because I really need to sleep now. Like, immediately." Naruto's eyes were already closing. "Kurama says something about excessive celebration being illogical." He didn't feel himself fall, didn't feel McCoy catch him or hear the doctor's exasperated, "Damn it, Jim, the kid's completely spent." He just felt warm, safe, and for the first time since arriving in this universe, completely certain he'd made the right choice. The Enterprise hummed around him as consciousness faded. The sound of a ship, a crew, a family he was beginning to understand. And in his mindscape, Kurama curled around him protectively, the great fox's tails wrapping them both in warmth. Sleep, kid. You've earned it. When you wake, we continue this strange new journey together. Together, Naruto agreed silently. Always together. The last thing he heard before sleep claimed him completely was Kirk's voice, quiet but caring clearly. Get him to his quarters, and someone send a message to Prefect Garrus. Argelius is safe, thanks to a ninja in an orange jumpsuit who refused to let fear win. Safe. The word echoed through Naruto's fading consciousness like a promise kept. They were safe, and that made everything worth it. Naruto woke 48 hours later to find Spock sitting in his quarters, reading a data pad with the patient focus of someone who'd been there for hours. The Vulcan glanced up as Naruto groaned and tried to sit up, every muscle in his body protesting the movement. I would advise moving slowly, Spock said. Dr. McCoy reports that your energy reserves dropped to 7% of normal capacity. He described it as the biological equivalent of running a starship on auxiliary power alone. I believe he was being melodramatic, but the metaphor has merit. Feel like I fought Madara again, Naruto muttered, managing to prop himself against the headboard. How long was I out? 47 hours, 33 minutes. You missed the official thank you ceremony from Prefect Jari's, 3 meal periods, and Lieutenant Uhura's presentation on Argelian musical theory. Spock set down his datapad. You also missed a rather spirited debate between Captain Kirk and Starfleet Command regarding your status aboard this vessel. Naruto's stomach clenched. They want me off the ship? On the contrary, Admiral Comac was sufficiently impressed by your performance on Argelius II that he authorized your continuation as a provisional cadet under Captain Kirk's command. You are now officially assigned to the USS Enterprise for the duration of your stay in this dimension. Spock paused. Congratulations. You are Starfleet's first interdimensional recruit. Seriously? Hope sparked in Naruto's chest, chasing away the lingering exhaustion. I get to stay. Keep training? You have demonstrated competence, courage, and most importantly, Spock's expression shifted into something that might have been approval if Vulcans did such things. The ability to learn from instruction. These qualities are valued in Starfleet. Your unconventional origin is now considered an asset rather than a liability. Naruto grinned, then winced as the movement pulled sore muscles. So what happens now? More training? Another mission? First, you will report to Dr. McCoy for medical clearance. Then you will consume approximately 4,000 calories to replenish your depleted reserves. Then, Spock stood, tucking his datapad under one arm. You will accompany me to Science Lab 3. I have been analyzing the energy readings from your Rasenshuriken technique. The implications are considerable. Considerable good or considerable bad. That depends on one's perspective regarding the weaponization of quantum mechanics. Naruto decided not to think too hard about that. McCoy's examination was thorough, invasive, and accompanied by a running commentary on damn fool kids who burn through their entire energy reserves fighting ancient evil. But the scanner results must have been acceptable because the doctor cleared him for duty with only minimal grumbling and a standing order to eat like you actually want to live. The mess hall was between shifts, mostly empty except for a few crew members who stared at Naruto with expressions ranging from awe to nervousness. Word had spread about what he'd done on Argelius, how he'd destroyed an entity that had killed for centuries, using techniques that shouldn't exist in this universe. He was getting used to the stares. They were different from the Leaf Village's old hatred, but similar to the looks he'd received after defeating pain. Recognition, respect, maybe a little fear of what he represented. Cadet Uzumaki, Chekhov waved from a corner table where he sat with Sulu. Join us, please. Grateful for the friendly faces, Naruto grabbed a massive tray of food from the replicator. Ramen, rice balls, grilled fish, and 3 protein supplements that McCoy had specifically ordered, and dropped into a seat. So, Sulu said with a grin, You're the guy who made Starfleet rewrite their recruitment protocols. What? You haven't heard? Chekhov pulled up a datapad, displaying what looked like an official Starfleet document. Command issued new guidelines for interdimensional entity recruitment and training. You're literally the reason they had to create a new category of crew member. Naruto read the document header, Provisional Cadet Status for Non-Federation Dimensional Displaced Persons. He laughed despite himself. They really don't know what to do with me, do they? Can you blame them? Sulu leaned back, his expression thoughtful. You're a 19-year-old from a dimension where people manipulate life force as naturally as breathing. You survived vacuum, killed a centuries-old serial killer, and did it all while still learning what a warp drive is. That's not exactly standard Academy material. But that is exactly why Captain Kirk wanted you to stay, Chekhov added enthusiastically. He believes Starfleet needs people who think differently, who approach problems from perspectives we cannot imagine. The humans are learning, Kurama observed. Diversity of thought is more valuable than conformity of method. Perhaps this Federation has wisdom after all. Speaking of thinking differently, Sulu said carefully, some of the crew have been asking questions about the Fox, about what it means to have another consciousness inside you. Naruto's hand drifted to his stomach instinctively. What kind of questions? Concerned questions, mostly. Not hostile. We've dealt with too many unusual life forms for that. But curious. Maybe a little worried. Sulu's honesty was refreshing. You told Red Jack you're never alone because you have people supporting you. But you meant Kurama too, didn't you? He's not just power, he's companionship. Yeah. Naruto met their eyes steadily. Kurama's my partner, my friend. For most of my life, he was the reason everyone hated me. They saw a monster sealed inside a kid and treated the kid like a monster too. But after we finally talked, really talked, I understood him, and he understood me. We're stronger together than either of us could be alone. The kid speaks truth, Kurama's voice emerged, Naruto's eyes flashing red momentarily. I have lived 1,000 years and known many humans. Most sought only to use me. This one sought to understand me. The difference is significant. Chekhov's eyes widened. He can just talk through you like that? When we agree to, Naruto confirmed. It's not possession, more like we share the microphone. He grinned. Though Kurama's got strong opinions about most things, so sometimes he interrupts. Because your explanations lack nuance, Kit. See? Interrupting. Sulu and Chekhov exchanged glances. Then Sulu extended his hand across the table. Well, welcome aboard officially, Cadet Uzumaki, both of you. The gesture was simple, but the acceptance behind it meant everything. Naruto shook firmly, feeling a little of the loneliness that had plagued him since arriving in this universe ease. Thanks. And hey, he pulled back his hand. Call me Naruto. Cadet Uzumaki sounds way too formal. Only if you tell us about your world, Chekhov said eagerly. We have heard pieces, shinobi, villages, chakra, but I want to know everything. What was it like growing up in a place so different from here? So Naruto told them. Not the sanitized version he'd given Kirk and Spock, but the real story, the loneliness of being the village pariah, the determination to prove himself, the missions that went wrong, and the ones that went right. His first friendship with Sasuke, the rivalry that became brotherhood, training under Jiraiya, the pervert sage, fighting Akatsuki, the war against Madara and Kaguya. By the time he finished, his food was cold and several other crew members had quietly joined their table, drawn by the story of a child soldier who refused to let his circumstances define him. And that's why I want to be Hokage, Naruto concluded, to prove that anyone can achieve their dreams if they never give up, that the kid everyone hated can become the person everyone trusts. You are already that person, a voice said from behind him. Naruto turned to find Captain Kirk standing there, coffee cup in hand, having apparently been listening for some time. Sir. At ease, Cadet. Kirk sat down, his presence immediately commanding everyone's attention. I've been reading your preliminary evaluation reports. Spock says you have an intuitive grasp of tactical physics that surpasses most Academy graduates. Scotty claims you understand energy conversion principles that took him years to master. And Dr. McCoy, Kirk smiled, says you're a damn fool kid with a hero complex and zero sense of self-preservation, which is the highest compliment he knows how to give. Thanks? Don't let it go to your head. You've still got a lot to learn. Kirk's expression turned serious. But I want you to understand something. You're not just a curiosity or a weapon we're keeping around until we figure out how to send you home. You're crew, and crew means family. We look out for each other, we trust each other, and when one of us is in trouble, all of us respond. Like shinobi bonds, Naruto said quietly. Exactly like that. Kirk stood, coffee in hand. Now finish your cold ramen and report to Science Lab 3. Mr. Spock has been waiting for an hour, and patient Vulcans are somehow more intimidating than impatient ones. As Kirk left, Naruto felt something shift in his chest. The Enterprise wasn't the Leaf Village. These people weren't his childhood friends or his senseis, but they were becoming something just as important, a new kind of precious people worth protecting. You bond quickly, kid, Kurama observed, not critically. It is both your greatest strength and most dangerous weakness. Maybe, but it's who I am, and I'm not changing that for anyone. I would not want you to. Your heart is what makes you tolerable company. Was that a compliment? Do not push your luck. Science Lab 3 was organized chaos. Displays showing energy patterns, data scrolling faster than Naruto could read, and Spock at the center of it all, like a conductor leading an orchestra only he could hear. Cadet Uzumaki, the Vulcan said without looking up, observe this display. Naruto approached, squinting at what looked like a three-dimensional map of colored light. What am I looking at? The energy signature of your Rasen Shuriken technique, reconstructed from sensor data. Spock manipulated the controls and the pattern rotated. Notice the spiral formation. It is not random. The chakra follows a precise mathematical progression known as the Fibonacci sequence, occurring naturally in shells, galaxies, and organic growth patterns. You are unconsciously utilizing principles of sacred geometry in your techniques. What? You are using math you do not consciously understand, Spock translated. The question is, where did you learn this pattern? Through formal training or intuitive development? Naruto thought back to Jiraiya's training, to the countless hours perfecting the Rasengan's rotation. I felt it more than learned it, like the chakra wanted to move that way, and I just let it. Fascinating. You are describing an intuitive understanding of quantum field harmonics. In this universe, such principles require years of theoretical study, yet you access them through what you describe as feeling. Spock's expression held something close to admiration. This suggests your chakra system is fundamentally connected to universal constants that transcend dimensional boundaries. Is that good? It means your techniques should not work in this universe at all, yet they function at approximately 75% efficiency. You are proof that certain fundamental principles exist across multiple realities. Spock pulled up another display. I have a theory. If we could enhance your body's adaptation to local quantum constants, your efficiency might increase to 90% or higher. You would regain most of your original strength. Hope flared bright. How? Through controlled exposure to various energy sources in this dimension. Solar radiation from different star types, exotic particles from nebulae, even controlled warp field exposure. Spock's tone remained clinical, but his eyes gleamed with scientific excitement. We would essentially be teaching your body to speak this universe's language fluently, rather than translating constantly. Risky, Kurama warned. Foreign energies could disrupt our balance. But if it works, Naruto said aloud, I'd be able to fight at full power again. Create 1,000 clones, use Sage Mode properly, maybe even access abilities you cannot currently utilize due to energy constraints, Spock finished. Yes. However, the process would require weeks of careful calibration and would be uncomfortable at best. There is also a 23.7% chance of adverse reactions. I'll do it. Spock's eyebrow rose. You did not ask what constitutes an adverse reaction? Doesn't matter. If there's a chance to get stronger, to be more useful to the crew. Naruto met Spock's gaze steadily. I'd take it. That's my ninja way. For a long moment, Spock studied him with those penetrating Vulcan eyes that saw too much. Then he nodded slowly. Very well. We will begin tomorrow. But Cadet, his tone shifted, becoming almost gentle. You are already useful. This is not about proving your worth. That is already established. It's about being ready, Naruto said quietly, because something tells me Red Jack won't be the last threat we face. And next time, I want to be strong enough to protect everyone without nearly dying from chakra exhaustion. A logical goal. Spock returned to his displays. Then we proceed. Dismissed, Cadet. Get rest. Tomorrow we begin the process of making you truly native to this reality. Naruto left the lab feeling electricity in his veins that had nothing to do with chakra. He was going to adapt, to grow stronger, to become a version of himself that could protect his new crew as fiercely as he'd protected the Leaf Village. The corridor outside was quiet, but as he walked, he noticed something new. Crew members nodded as he passed. Some smiled. A few even gave small salutes of respect. He wasn't the village pariah anymore. He wasn't even just the kid from another dimension. He was Cadet Naruto Uzumaki of the USS Enterprise, and that meant something. You have found another home, kid, Kurama observed. Another group of humans worth protecting. Yeah, Naruto thought, watching the stars slip past through a viewport. I have. Somewhere in those stars, his original world existed. His friends, his dream of becoming Hokage, everything he left behind, and he would find his way back eventually. But until then, he had a new mission. Learn everything this universe could teach him. Protect these people who'd accepted him without knowing anything, except that he needed help. Become the kind of shinobi, the kind of Starfleet officer that both worlds could be proud of. The Enterprise hummed around him, carrying him toward unknown adventures. And Naruto Uzumaki, who'd never backed down from a challenge in his life, grinned at the infinite possibilities ahead. Believe it, this was going to be incredible. 3 weeks into Spock's adaptation protocols, Naruto learned that Vulcan's scientific precision and ninja stubbornness created a combination that was either brilliant or insane, possibly both. Increased solar radiation exposure by 7%, Spock said from outside the chamber, his voice filtered through the comm system. Naruto stood in what Scotty had dubbed the Universal Acclimation Chamber, essentially a reinforced cargo bay retrofitted with every type of energy emitter the Enterprise possessed. Currently, he was being bombarded with radiation from a simulated Vulcan sun while maintaining a stable Rasengan in each hand. This is absurd, Kurama growled. We are being cooked like meat while juggling energy spheres. Think of it as extreme training. I am thinking of it as torture disguised as science. The radiation intensity increased. Naruto felt his chakra pathways strain, then adapt, learning to convert the foreign energy into something his body could use. It hurt like chakra exhaustion and chakra overload happening simultaneously. But underneath the pain, he felt himself growing stronger. His Rasengan flickered but held steady. Progress. Fascinating, Spock murmured, watching his displays. Your conversion efficiency has increased to 81%. At this rate, you will achieve 90% within 2 weeks. Can we, Naruto gasped, take a break? Just for a minute. Negative. Your body is currently in an optimal state for adaptation. Cessation would waste the progress achieved. Spock adjusted another control. However, I am reducing intensity by 3% to prevent cellular damage. Dr. McCoy was quite insistent about not cooking the kid. Tell Bones I appreciate that, Naruto managed. The training continued for another hour before Spock finally shut down the emitters. Naruto collapsed immediately, his jumpsuit soaked with sweat, muscles trembling from the strain of maintaining chakra control under hostile conditions. You performed adequately, Spock said, which Naruto had learned was Vulcan for pretty damn good. Tomorrow, we introduce neutrino bombardment while you maintain shadow clones. The goal is to teach your chakra to remain stable under quantum uncertainty. You realize that sounds completely insane, right? Captain Kirk made a similar observation. I assured him the mathematics were sound. Did you tell him about the 23.7% chance of adverse reactions? I may have emphasized the 76.3% chance of success instead. Naruto laughed despite his exhaustion. 3 weeks of training with Spock had revealed something unexpected. Beneath the logic and the raised eyebrows, the Vulcan had a sense of humor. It was buried under about 17 layers of scientific precision, but it existed. Come on, Naruto said, pulling himself to his feet. Mess hall, I need about 10,000 calories and whatever passes for victory ramen in this universe. The Enterprise had become home in ways Naruto hadn't expected. He knew which turbo lift had slightly slower doors. Deck 7, portside. He'd learned that Scotty's engineering staff appreciated when someone showed genuine interest in their work, even if that someone couldn't tell a plasma conduit from a power relay. He'd discovered that Lieutenant Uhura was learning Japanese specifically to understand his occasional lapses into his native language when exhausted. And he'd learned that ship gossip traveled faster than warp speed. So is it true? Yeoman Rand asked as she served him his fourth bowl of ramen. The replicator couldn't keep up with his post-training appetite, so the ship's small galley had started preparing fresh food specifically for him. You can really make 1,000 copies of yourself? On a good day, Naruto confirmed between slurps. Back home, I once fought an entire army with just shadow clones. Took them completely by surprise. One person against an army. She shook her head in amazement. And you won? Well, I had help eventually. But yeah, the clones did most of the work. He grinned. It's the perfect technique for someone like me. I've never been good at sitting still or being patient. With shadow clones, I don't have to be. I can do 100 things at once. The mess hall doors opened, and Kirk entered with Spock and McCoy in tow. The captain's expression was serious, not worried, but focused in that way that meant a situation required attention. Cadet Uzumaki, Kirk said, approaching his table. Conference room now. We have a developing situation. Naruto abandoned his ramen immediately, following the senior officers to the briefing room adjacent to the bridge. The view screen displayed a planet, Earth-like, but with purple-tinged oceans and 3 small moons. Zeta Aquarius 4, Kirk said without preamble. Federation colony, population 8,000. They've been experiencing seismic activity that doesn't match geological models. Mr. Spock? Sensors indicate the seismic events are not natural, Spock reported. The epicenters form a geometric pattern inconsistent with plate tectonics. Additionally, we are detecting unusual subterranean energy signatures. Something's causing artificial earthquakes? Naruto asked. Or something is trying to emerge from beneath the surface, Spock corrected. The energy signatures are increasing in intensity. At current progression, catastrophic seismic failure will occur in approximately 72 hours. McCoy leaned forward. What kind of something, Spock? Unknown. The energy readings are similar to what we encountered with Red Jack, a consciousness composed primarily of energy rather than matter. However, this entity appears significantly larger and more complex. Kirk's jaw tightened. Can the colonists evacuate? Negative, Captain. The colony infrastructure includes underground habitation modules that cannot be abandoned without significant preparation time. Full evacuation would require a minimum of 1 week. Which we don't have. Kirk turned to Naruto. Cadet, you've dealt with energy-based entities before? What's your assessment? Naruto studied the planet on the view screen, letting his instincts, honed through years of facing impossible threats, guide his analysis. If it's underground and getting stronger, it's either waking up from a long sleep or growing by feeding on something. Either way, we need to find out what it wants before it emerges. Going in blind against an unknown entity is how people die. Agreed. Mr. Spock, assemble a landing party, science team with full sensor equipment, security detail, and, Kirk looked at Naruto, someone who can hit an energy being hard enough to make it reconsider its life choices. I'm coming too, McCoy said immediately. If this thing emerges and people get hurt, I want to be on site. 2 hours later, Naruto found himself in a transporter room again, this time geared up with equipment the Enterprise crew had assembled for him. A communicator clipped to his jumpsuit, a tricorder, simplified interface because he still didn't understand half the readings, and a phaser, though Kirk had been skeptical about giving him one. You sure he should have a phaser? McCoy had asked. Doctor, he can create explosive energy spheres with his bare hands. I think a phaser is the least of our worries. The landing party materialized on Zeta Aquarius IV's surface in what looked like a farming community. Prefab buildings, hydroponics facilities, and colonists who stared at them with expressions of desperate hope. A woman approached, her clothes dusty and face lined with exhaustion. "Captain Kirk, I'm Governor Malice. Thank God you're here. The quakes are getting worse. We've had to evacuate the lower levels, and our structural engineers say the main support columns won't hold much longer." "We're here to help, Governor." Kirk gestured to Spock. "My science officer will coordinate with your people to determine the source of the seismic activity." "It's not seismic," Malice's voice dropped. "Or it is, but it's not natural. The patterns are too precise, too deliberate. It's like something down there is knocking on the door, trying to get out." "She understands more than she knows," Kurama observed. "I sense it too, Kit. Something ancient, powerful, and very, very angry." Spock was already scanning, his tricorder painting the area with sensor beams. The energy source is approximately 3.7 kilometers beneath the surface, centered under the colony's main settlement. The depth suggests it predates the colony by considerable margin. "How long has this planet been surveyed?" Kirk asked. "Initial survey was 18 months ago," Malice said. "No unusual readings, no indication of anything dangerous. We wouldn't have brought families here otherwise." Another tremor shook the ground, not violent but deliberate, a rhythmic pulse that felt almost like a heartbeat. "Captain," Spock said urgently, "the entity is attempting communication. The seismic patterns are not random destruction. They are structured vibrations in a mathematical sequence. It's trying to talk to us?" Naruto moved closer to Spock's tricorder. "What's it saying?" "I cannot translate without additional data. However," Spock adjusted his scanner, "if Cadet Uzumaki could establish direct contact with the entity using his chakra, we might achieve communication more efficiently than through seismic interpretation." Everyone turned to look at Naruto. "You want me to, what, mind meld with an earthquake?" "In essence, yes. Your chakra exists partially as consciousness-based energy. If this entity is similarly structured, direct consciousness-to-consciousness contact might be possible." "This is an exceptionally bad idea," Kurama warned. "We do not know this entity's intentions. It could overwhelm your mind, consume your chakra, or worse." "But if it's trying to communicate and we're not listening," Naruto argued internally, "then we're the ones being unreasonable." He looked at Kirk. "I'll try, but if something goes wrong, we pull you out immediately," Kirk promised. "Mr. Spock, what does he need to do?" "Find a point of direct contact with the planet's crust, minimal interference between himself and the entity, then extend his consciousness downward using whatever technique allows him to sense chakra networks." They found a spot where bedrock pushed through the topsoil, a natural stone formation that the colonists had built around. Naruto placed both hands on the warm stone and closed his eyes, reaching inward to where Kurama waited in their shared mindscape. "Ready, Kit, but I am coming with you. If this entity tries anything hostile, it will learn why humans feared the Ninetales." Together, they extended their consciousness downward. Not physically, Naruto's body remained on the surface, but spiritually, following the energy signature that Spock's sensors had detected. Down through layers of rock and compressed sediment, through ancient geological strata, deeper than any mineshaft. And then he touched it. The entity's consciousness was vast, ancient beyond measure, and absolutely terrified. Images flooded Naruto's mind, not words but pure emotion and memory. A species that lived in planetary cores, feeding on geothermal energy. A peaceful existence until the surface dwellers came. Fear that the colony above would drill deep, would pierce the entity's sanctuary, would kill it as others of its kind had been killed on 100 worlds. The earthquakes weren't attacks. They were warnings. Desperate pleas to go away, to leave it in peace, to stop the machines that probe deeper into the planet's crust every day. "It's a child," Kurama realized with shock. "A juvenile of its species, alone and frightened." Naruto reached back, not with chakra but with understanding. He sent his own memories, what it felt like to be feared, to be seen as a monster, to have everyone want you gone simply because you existed. The loneliness of the village pariah, the desperate hope that someday someone would see you as a person rather than a threat. The entity recoiled at first, then slowly, cautiously reached back. Understanding flowed both ways. The entity had been abandoned here by its species, left to mature alone in the planet's core. It had hidden successfully for millennia until the colony's deep core sensors had triggered its defensive instincts. It didn't want to hurt anyone. It was just scared. Tell them, Kurama urged. Tell the surface dwellers the truth. Misunderstanding creates conflict. Understanding creates peace. Even you know this, kid. Naruto withdrew slowly, gently, carrying the entity's message back to the surface. His eyes opened to find Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Governor Malice all staring at him with varying expressions of concern. It's a kid, Naruto said hoarsely. A scared kid who thinks we're going to kill it. The earthquakes are warnings, not attacks. It's been trying to tell us to stop the deep core mining sensors because they're hurting it. Governor Malice went pale. We have seismic monitoring equipment that penetrates to 4.2 kilometers. We were planning to upgrade to 6-kilometer sensors next month to study the planet's core composition, which would have penetrated its sanctuary, Spock concluded. Logical. The entity perceived an existential threat and responded with the only communication method available: seismic activity. Can we negotiate? Kirk asked Naruto directly. Yeah, it doesn't want conflict. It just wants to be left alone to grow up in peace. Naruto looked at Malice. If you can relocate your deep core sensors to areas away from the central fault line, avoid certain drilling depths, the entity will stop the quakes. It's willing to coexist if it knows it's safe. Just like that. Malice looked skeptical. It nearly destroyed our colony. It nearly destroyed your colony because it thought you were going to kill it first, Naruto said firmly. I've been where it is, feared, threatened, just trying to survive while everyone treats you like a monster. Sometimes all it takes is someone willing to listen instead of attack. Kirk studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Governor Malice, can you accommodate these restrictions? Yes, if it means peace, absolutely. She looked at Naruto with new respect. How did you know it would work? How did you know it wasn't actually hostile? Because I've been the scary thing people wanted to get rid of, Naruto said simply. And all I ever wanted was for someone to understand me instead of fearing me. He grinned. Plus, Kurama's been teaching me that most monsters are just misunderstood. Right, partner? The kid occasionally learns, Kurama grumbled, but there was warmth in his tone. Over the next hours, Spock worked with the colony's engineers to establish new sensor protocols that avoided the entity's territory. Naruto maintained sporadic contact, reassuring the being that the surface dwellers meant no harm, that they would respect its space. By the time they beamed back to the Enterprise, Zeta Aquarius IV was quiet. No more earthquakes, no more fear on either side. Just two species learning to share a planet peacefully. Good work, Cadet, Kirk said as they materialized in the transporter room. You prevented what could have become a catastrophic conflict through understanding rather than force. That's the essence of Starfleet's mission. It's the essence of my ninja way too, Naruto replied. Never give up on understanding others, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Later in his quarters, Naruto replayed the day's events in his mind. He'd used his abilities not to destroy a threat, but to prevent one from forming. He'd turned fear into understanding, conflict into coexistence. This was what Starfleet was really about. Not just exploring space, but bridging gaps between species. Finding common ground where none seemed to exist. It was what he'd been trying to do his entire life. Prove that understanding was always possible if you refused to give up on it. You are becoming wise, kid, Kurama observed. Perhaps this universe has lessons even for us. Maybe. Or maybe we're teaching them lessons too. Arrogant. Learn from the best. Fair point. The Enterprise continued its voyage through the stars, carrying a ninja who was slowly becoming something more. Not just a shinobi, not just a Starfleet cadet, but a bridge between philosophies, between worlds, and every day he grew stronger, not just in power, but in understanding. That was worth more than any jutsu. Believe it. The distress call came during Naruto's 6th week aboard the Enterprise, interrupting his morning training session with Spock in the holodeck. A recreation room that could simulate any environment through hard light technology that still made Naruto's brain hurt when he thought about it too hard. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. Uhura's voice rang through the ship's comm system, her usual calm replaced by urgency. Naruto and Spock rushed from the holodeck, where Naruto had been practicing shadow clone coordination against simulated Klingon warriors, and arrived on the bridge to find Kirk already in his command chair, face grim. "Report," Kirk ordered. "Priority distress signal from the USS Constellation. Captain Decker commanding," Uhura said. "They engaged an unknown vessel near System L-374 and suffered severe damage. They're requesting immediate assistance." "Engage what kind of vessel?" Kirk leaned forward. "They don't specify, sir. The transmission was fragmented, but Captain Decker described it as," she checked her display, "a planet killer." The bridge went silent. Spock moved immediately to his science station, fingers flying across controls. "Sensors detect significant debris in System L-374. Multiple planets showing signs of complete destruction, reduced to rubble and asteroid fields." "Dear God," McCoy breathed from where he'd just entered the bridge. "Something destroyed entire planets?" "Plotting intercept course," Sulu reported. "Warp factor 8, ETA 43 minutes. Make it so." Kirk turned to Spock. "What could destroy a planet?" "Theoretically, a doomsday weapon of sufficient magnitude, a natural phenomenon such as a stellar collapse. Or," Spock's voice took on a darker tone, "a weapon platform designed specifically for planetary destruction. Given the systematic nature of the debris field, the latter seems most probable." Naruto felt Kurama stir in his mindscape, the Fox's unease bleeding through their connection. "I sense something, Kit. Something that exists only to consume and destroy. This will be dangerous." "More dangerous than Red Jack?" "Red Jack killed individuals. This kills worlds." The journey to L-374 felt endless despite traveling faster than light. Naruto spent the time in the briefing room with the senior staff, watching as Spock displayed sensor data from the Constellation's last coherent transmissions. "Whatever attacked them carved through their defenses with ease," Spock reported. "Shields proved ineffective. Weapons had minimal impact. The Constellation sustained 73% casualties and catastrophic damage to primary systems." "And it's still functional?" Kirk asked. "Barely. Captain Decker managed to beach the ship on a surviving planetoid." "However," Spock pulled up another display, "the attacking vessel is still in the system, methodically reducing remaining planetary bodies to debris." "Why?" Naruto asked. "What's the point of destroying planets that don't even have people on them?" "An excellent question, Cadet. One we cannot answer without additional data." The Enterprise dropped from warp at the edge of System L-374, and the view screen showed devastation on a scale that made even Naruto, who'd witnessed the Ten Tails rampage, feel his stomach clench. Where planets should have been, only asteroid fields remained, debris stretching across millions of kilometers. And in the center of the destruction, something moved. "My God," Sulu whispered. The thing was massive, easily 3 times the Enterprise's length, and utterly alien in design. Not a ship in any conventional sense, but a weapon-given form. A maw at its forward section glowed with sickly orange light, and as they watched, it fired a beam of pure destructive energy at a nearby moon. The moon lasted approximately 4 seconds before disintegrating into rubble. "Full sensor scan," Kirk ordered, his voice tight with controlled alarm. "The vessel is approximately 100 kilometers in length," Spock reported. "Hull composition unknown. Sensors cannot penetrate. The energy beam it generates measures—" He paused, recalculating. "Captain, that weapon outputs more energy per second than most stars. It is literally powered by the mass energy conversion of the planets it destroys." "It eats planets?" McCoy's face had gone pale. "Consumes them for fuel?" "Essentially, yes. A doomsday machine in the truest sense, designed to destroy worlds and use that destruction to power further destruction. Self-sustaining, virtually unstoppable." Naruto stared at the thing on the view screen, feeling something cold settle in his chest. He'd fought powerful enemies before. Madara, Kaguya, beings who could reshape reality itself. But they'd all had motivations, goals, reasons however twisted. This thing just destroyed. It existed only to consume and kill. No malice, no anger, just mechanical, efficient annihilation. This is what true evil looks like, Kit, Kurama said quietly. Not hatred or ambition, simply destruction for destruction's sake. The universe's answer to entropy made manifest. Mr. Chekhov, locate the constellation, Kirk ordered. There, Captain. Chekhov pointed to the view screen where a starship, battered, scorched, barely recognizable, sat on the surface of a small planetoid. Life signs detected, but minimal. Most of the crew, understood, Mr. Sulu, take us in. Keep us between that thing and the constellation. Red alert, shields up. All hands to battle stations. The klaxon blared. Naruto felt adrenaline spike through his system as the Enterprise moved toward the damaged starship. The planet killer didn't react immediately. It was focused on consuming another chunk of planetary debris, but Naruto knew that wouldn't last. Transporter room, Kirk called. Beam Captain Decker directly to the bridge. Away team to the constellation. Assess damage and evacuate survivors. A man materialized on the bridge moments later. Uniform torn, face haunted, eyes carrying the weight of watching his entire crew die. Captain Kirk, he said, voice rough. That thing, we hit it with everything we had. Photon torpedoes, full phaser banks, nothing even scratched it. What is it, Captain Decker? I don't know. An ancient weapon? A probe gone mad? It appeared 3 days ago and started systematically destroying everything in this system. My crew, Decker's voice broke. My crew fought bravely. They died for nothing. That thing can't be stopped. Captain, Spock's voice cut through sharply. The device has detected us. It's changing course. The planet killer turned with ponderous inevitability, its maw beginning to glow brighter as it aligned toward the Enterprise. Evasive maneuvers, Kirk barked. Full impulse. The Enterprise banked hard, and Naruto grabbed a console to steady himself. Through the view screen, he watched the orange beam lance out, missing them by less than a kilometer. The sheer heat from its passage made the shields flare, and the hull groan. Shields holding at 87%, Chekhov reported. Sir, if that had hit us directly, it would have destroyed us instantly, Spock finished. Captain, I recommend we withdraw and... No, Kirk's voice was iron. If that thing leaves this system, it heads toward inhabited worlds. We're all that stands between it and the Federation. We hold the line here. Naruto stepped forward. Captain, let me try something. That thing is consuming matter and converting it to energy, right? What if I hit it with pure energy from inside? The Rasen Shuriken worked on Rejak. That was a confined space, Cadet. This is an open battlefield against something the size of a small moon. Kirk looked at him seriously. I appreciate the courage, but we need a different approach. Then what? Naruto demanded. We can't fight it from out here, and you said we can't run. So what do we do? Decker laughed, the sound broken. You die, like my crew died. That's all you can do against that thing. No. Kirk's voice carried absolute conviction. There's always another option. We just need to find it. He turned to Spock. That weapon is powered by planetary destruction. What happens if we cut off its fuel supply? There is insufficient mass remaining in this system to significantly impact its operational capacity. However, Spock's eyes gleamed with calculation. If we could lure it toward a star and overload its energy absorption capacity, the resulting feedback might damage its systems. How do we lure a mindless planet killer? By offering it a target it cannot ignore. Kirk stood, decision made. Mr. Sulu, plot a course toward the system's sun. Maintain maximum distance from that thing, but make sure it follows us. Captain, you can't... Decker started. Watch me. Kirk's smile was sharp and dangerous. We're going to make it chase us. And when it's committed, when it's too close to the star to pull back, he looked at Naruto. That's when you're going to hit it with everything you've got. Sir? Naruto's heart hammered. You said your technique cuts on a cellular level. That thing has to have vulnerable points. Power conduits, control systems, something that keeps it functioning. I want you to transport inside it, find its weak point, and tear it apart from within while it's distracted by trying to consume a star. Jim, that's suicide, McCoy protested. No, it's the only way. Kirk met Naruto's eyes steadily. I won't order you to do this, Cadet. This is a volunteer mission with astronomical risk. But if you think you can do it, I can do it. Naruto's voice didn't waver. Every mission he'd ever taken, every impossible fight, had been preparing him for this moment. Get me inside that thing, and I'll find a way to stop it. That's a promise. And I never go back on my word. Kit, this is exceptionally dangerous. That machine's interior will be hostile to all life. You could be disintegrated, crushed, or worse. Then I guess we'd better not fail. You're insane. You're only figuring that out now? Spock was already at his station, coordinating with engineering. Mr. Scott reports he can reconfigure the transporter to penetrate the device's hull, but there is no guarantee of Cadet Uzumaki's safe materialization inside. The internal environment may be incompatible with human life. Then we make it work, Kirk said, because the alternative is letting that thing kill billions. The next 20 minutes were controlled chaos. Scotty worked frantically to reconfigure transporter systems. McCoy loaded Naruto up with every piece of survival equipment the Enterprise had. Emergency oxygen, radiation shielding, even a small force field generator that might buy him seconds of protection. And Naruto stood in the transporter room, gathering every scrap of chakra he'd recovered over the past weeks, feeling Kurama's power blend with his own until his entire body hummed with barely contained energy. Remember, Scotty said, making final adjustments, once you're inside, you'll have maybe 10 minutes before that thing realizes you're a foreign object and tries to purge you. Find something that looks critical and hit it with everything you've got. Got it. Naruto stepped onto the transporter pad, forming hand seals. Shadow clone jutsu. 20 clones materialized around him, each one carrying the same determination. We're going to spread out inside, cover more ground. When we find the weak point, we all hit it simultaneously. Kirk entered the transporter room, phaser in hand. Cadet Uzumaki, Naruto. The captain's expression was serious. What you're about to do goes beyond the call of duty. No one would blame you for refusing. I'm not refusing. Naruto grinned, feeling fear and excitement and purpose surge through him. This is what I trained for. Protecting people, stopping threats, being the hero who never gives up. Besides, his grin widened, I'm basically unkillable. I've survived way worse than a giant death machine. Believe it. Kirk extended his hand. Naruto shook it firmly. Good luck, Cadet. Come back alive. Plan 2. Still owe Chekhov that story about the time I fought a guy who could control sand. I will hold you to that. Mr. Scott? Enterprise approaching critical distance from the sun, Captain. The device is following, and its energy absorption systems are activating. Scotty's hands hovered over the transporter controls. Target coordinates locked. This is going to be rough, lad. Bring it on. Naruto closed his eyes, feeling Kurama's presence surge forward, tails materializing around him in brilliant orange chakra. Let's save a universe. Energizing. The world dissolved into light and impossible sensation. Naruto felt himself scattered across space, then compressed, then scattered again as the transporter fought against the planet killer's exotic hull. For one terrible moment, he thought the materialization would fail, that he'd be lost between dimensions forever. Then reality snapped back, and he stumbled onto a surface that wasn't metal or anything he recognized. The interior of the Doomsday Machine was a nightmare of alien geometry, conduits that pulsed with stolen planetary mass, walls that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, and heat that would have killed any unprotected human instantly. Naruto's chakra cloak held, barely. Around him, his shadow clones materialized one by one, each looking as overwhelmed as he felt. Spread out, he ordered. Find the core, the power source, anything that looks important. We've got 10 minutes. The clones scattered into the machine's depths, and Naruto ran deeper into the mechanical horror, following the largest energy conduits toward what had to be the heart of this world-killing machine. Behind him, through the hull he couldn't see, the Enterprise led the planet killer toward its doom, and inside the beast, a ninja from another dimension prepared to do the impossible. Again, Because that's what heroes did. They never gave up, even when the odds were impossible, even when survival seemed unlikely. They fought anyway, for the people counting on them, for the worlds that deserved to exist, for the simple principle that darkness, no matter how vast, could always be overcome by someone willing to shine bright enough. Naruto Uzumaki ran deeper into the monster, chakra blazing like a star, and somewhere in the void, the universe held its breath. The interior of the planet killer was hell given mechanical form. Conduits as wide as streets pulsed with converted planetary mass, walls radiated heat that turned the air into shimmering waves, and the constant vibration of the massive engines shook Naruto's teeth with every step. His chakra cloak protected him, but he could feel the strain. Maintaining the Nine-Tails power while running through an environment designed to process worlds into energy was like trying to swim against a waterfall. Left! Kurama's warning came just in time. Naruto dove as a maintenance beam swept past his previous position, its energy discharge hot enough to vaporize steel. This machine has automated defense systems. We are being recognized as a foreign contaminant. Great. Just great. Naruto picked himself up and kept running, following the energy flow deeper into the machine's core. Through their shared consciousness, he felt his shadow clones spreading through the vast interior. Some finding dead ends, others discovering massive chambers filled with processing equipment that defied understanding. All of them searching desperately for anything that might qualify as a weak point. A clone's memory flooded back, dismissed after finding a massive spherical chamber with what looked like a power regulation system. The coordinates burned in Naruto's mind, and he adjusted course, racing through corridors that seemed to shift and reconfigure as he passed. Enterprise to Uzumaki. Kirk's voice crackled through his communicator, distorted by interference. Status report. Still alive, Naruto shouted over the mechanical roar. Found something that might be important. Heading there now. We're committed to the run, Kirk said, and even through the static, Naruto heard the tension. The device is following us toward the star. Temperature inside that thing must be really, really hot, Naruto confirmed. But the chakra cloak is holding. I just need... A massive energy discharge erupted from a nearby conduit, and Naruto's world became fire and force. He hit a wall hard enough to crack it, his chakra cloak flaring to absorb the impact. Warning systems throughout the machine began wailing, a discordant shriek that made his ears ring. It knows we're here, Kurama snarled. The machine is trying to purge us like a virus. Then we'd better move faster. Naruto pushed off the wall and ran, chakra surging around him as he accelerated beyond human limits. The corridor ahead began sealing, massive doors grinding closed to trap him, but he formed a Rasengan and smashed through before they could lock. Another clone's memory returned. This one had found the central chamber. It was close. So close. The Enterprise's hull groaned as the planet killer's tractor beam attempted to pull them in, but Sulu's piloting kept them just out of reach, dancing on the edge of annihilation while leading the massive machine toward its doom. On the view screen, the system's star grew larger, its corona reaching out like hungry fingers. Distance to star, 300,000 kilometers, Spock reported. The device's energy absorption systems are operating at 147% normal capacity. It is attempting to process stellar matter while simultaneously pursuing us. The power fluctuations are significant. Will it overload? Kirk demanded. Insufficient data. However, internal stress factors suggest the possibility. Captain! Spock's voice sharpened. I am detecting massive energy buildups within the device's structure. Cadet Uzumaki may have found critical systems. Naruto! Kirk called into the comm. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. This thing's about to tear itself apart or take us with it. Inside the machine, Naruto burst into the central chamber and stopped, stunned despite the desperate situation. The chamber was a sphere, perhaps 300 meters in diameter, and at its center floated something that looked almost organic, a core of condensed energy, pulsing with the stolen life force of a dozen worlds, wrapped in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Power radiated from it in waves that made Naruto's chakra cloak flicker and strain, and surrounding it, on every surface of the sphere, were what could only be described as neural processors, mechanical brains working in terrible synchronization to direct the machine's endless hunger. That is its heart, Kurama said with certainty. Destroy that, and the entire machine dies. Yeah, Naruto breathed. But how? That thing's putting out more energy than anything I've ever felt except me at full power. Or you when we fought Kaguya, or... Kurama paused. Kit, we could do this, but it will take everything. Every scrap of chakra we've saved, every bit of power we've adapted to this universe. And there is no guarantee we will survive. Naruto felt his remaining shadow clones converging on his position, drawn by the same instinct that had brought him here. 23 clones burst into the chamber from various access points, each one battered and barely holding together, but all carrying the same determination. We do this together, Naruto said aloud, forming the cross seal. All of us, one technique, maximum power. We put everything into one Rasen Shuriken and pray it's enough. The clones nodded and spread out around the chamber's circumference. Through their shared consciousness, Naruto felt their minds link. 24 versions of himself, thinking as one, moving as one, gathering power as one. Enterprise, this is Naruto, he said into the communicator. Get ready to get out of here. In about 60 seconds, things are going to get really messy inside this thing. Cadet, what are you? Saving the universe, Captain. What else? Naruto grinned, despite everything. Kirk, tell everyone. Tell them the ninja way works. Even in space. Even in universes with warp drives and phasers and replicators, never giving up still matters. Naruto, it's been an honor, sir. Believe it. He severed the connection before Kirk could order him to abort. This was the only way, and they both knew it. All 24 Narutos raised their hands simultaneously, chakra gathering in brilliant spheres that grew and expanded until the chamber blazed with orange light. The basic Rasengan formed first, then Wine Nature transformation added its cutting edge, then more power, more chakra, drawing on reserves that had been carefully hoarded over 6 weeks of adaptation training, but it wasn't enough. The technique was massive, larger than anything Naruto had created before, but the core's power dwarfed it. He needed more. Then take it, Kurama said, and suddenly the fox's full presence surged forward. Not just chakra, but consciousness, will, the accumulated power of a being that had existed for over a millennium. We are partners, Kit. Where you go, I go. If we die together. But that thing doesn't get to keep killing worlds. Not while we still draw breath. The Rasen Shuriken transformed, orange chakra mixed with red, the technique expanding until it filled half the chamber, shrieking with contained destruction. The geometric patterns around the core began to destabilize, sensors throughout the machine screaming warnings as they detected the impossible energy building inside their sanctuary. For the Leaf Village, Naruto shouted. For the Enterprise. For every world that should get to exist. 24 voices in perfect unison. Wind style, ultra big ball, Rasen Shuriken. They threw as one. 24 techniques merged in flight, combining into a single sphere of destruction so large it nearly touched the chamber walls. The shriek of cutting wind became a roar that shook the entire machine. The Rasen Shuriken hit the core dead center, and the universe screamed. The technique didn't just cut, it annihilated. Microscopic chakra blades numbering in the trillions tore through the core's structure, severing the connections that held compressed planetary matter in stable configuration. The geometric patterns that had directed the machine's hunger shattered like glass. The neural processors exploded in cascading failure. The core's containment failed. Naruto had one moment to realize what he'd done, release the energy of a dozen planets in an uncontrolled eruption, before the explosion hit him like a physical wall. His chakra cloak shattered. His shadow clones vanished in an instant, their experiences flooding back in a wave of pain and fear and desperate hope. He felt himself thrown backward by force that should have vaporized him, only Kurama's final surge of protective chakra keeping his body intact. Kit! Kurama's voice was fading, the fox's presence growing distant as the explosion consumed everything. Don't you dare die, not after. Then everything was light and fire and impossible pressure. On the Enterprise bridge, alarm shrieked as sensors detected the catastrophic energy release. The device is exploding, Spock shouted over the chaos. All power to the engines. Warp speed now. Belay that. Kirk was already moving toward the turbolift. Transporter room, lock on to Cadet Uzumaki's signal and beam him out. Jim, if we don't leave now, McCoy started, we don't leave our people behind. Kirk hit the turbo-lift controls. Mr. Sulu, buy us time. Mr. Spock, help Scotty get a transporter lock. We're not losing that kid. In the transporter room, Scotty's hands flew across controls with desperate speed. Captain, his signal's weak. The interference from the explosion is massive. I can't guarantee. Do it anyway, Kirk commanded. Aye. Scotty pushed the systems beyond their rated capacity, forcing the transporter to reach through fire and destruction to find one human life sign among the chaos. I've got him! Energizing! The transporter pad flared with light. A figure materialized. Orange jumpsuit charred and torn, body unconscious, skin burned but healing even as they watched. Naruto Uzumaki collapsed onto the pad, smoke rising from his form. Medical emergency! Kirk caught the kid before he hit the ground. Dr. McCoy to transporter room immediately. Already here, Jim. McCoy was scanning before Naruto's body finished materializing. He's alive. Barely. Third-degree burns, extreme chakra depletion, possible internal injuries, but alive. Get him to sickbay now. Behind them, through the viewport, the planet killer's death throes lit up space like a newborn star. The explosion consumed the machine from within, the hull rupturing in 1,000 places as catastrophic power fluctuations tore through systems never designed to fail. Mr. Sulu, warp factor 6, Kirk ordered as medical staff rushed Naruto away on a stretcher. Get us clear. The Enterprise leaped to warp speed just as the planet killer's core finally gave up any pretense of containment. The machine that had destroyed worlds, that had been unstoppable for perhaps millennia, tore itself apart in an explosion that would be visible from neighboring star systems. Debris scattered across space, massive hull fragments, melted conduits, the shattered remains of a doomsday weapon finally ended by a ninja from another dimension who refused to accept that anything was impossible. In sickbay, McCoy worked with frantic precision while Naruto's healing factor fought to repair catastrophic damage. Come on, kid, the doctor muttered. You survived vacuum, you can survive this. Don't you dare die on my table. Kirk stood in the corner, watching, remembering a 19-year-old who'd appeared in space 6 weeks ago and somehow become essential to this ship in ways the captain was only beginning to understand. Naruto's eyes flickered open, just for a moment, and found Kirk's face. Did we? His voice was barely a whisper. Did we win? Kirk smiled, feeling relief flood through him. We won, Cadet. That thing's scrap metal. You destroyed it. Good. Naruto's eyes were already closing again, exhaustion dragging him back under. Told you, Ninja Way works, even in space. Yeah, Kirk said quietly as Naruto slipped into healing sleep. It does. McCoy looked up from his medical monitors, his expression somewhere between relief and exasperation. He's going to be fine, Jim. The healing factor's already repairing the damage. Give him a few days, and he'll be bouncing around like nothing happened. Good. Kirk watched the kid's chest rise and fall steadily. Because when he wakes up, I'm recommending him for the Starfleet Medal of Valor, and probably giving him a very long lecture about not scaring his captain to death. Get in line, McCoy muttered. I'm going to give him a lecture about not burning through his entire energy reserves while inside an exploding doomsday machine. He saved billions of lives today, Bones. I know. The doctor's voice softened. Doesn't mean I can't yell at him for nearly dying in the process. Kirk left sickbay and returned to the bridge, where the crew had maintained their posts despite the crisis being over. Every face turned toward him with the same question. Cadet Uzumaki will make a full recovery, Kirk announced, and the tension broke like a snapping wire. Cheers erupted across the bridge, unprofessional, undignified, and exactly what the moment needed. Captain, Spock said once the celebration calmed. Preliminary analysis indicates the device was completely destroyed. No functional systems remain. Cadet Uzumaki's technique achieved total structural failure of the machine's core, resulting in a cascade reaction that obliterated 99.7% of its mass. The threat is neutralized. All thanks to a kid who barely knows how to use a tricorder, Kirk said, allowing himself to smile. Mr. Spock, I want a full report on this mission filed with Starfleet Command. Make sure they understand exactly what Cadet Uzumaki accomplished, including the part where he disobeyed direct orders and nearly died, especially that part. Command needs to know what kind of officer he's going to be. The reckless kind, Spock suggested with the faintest hint of amusement. The heroic kind, Kirk corrected. The kind who'll do anything to protect others. The kind Starfleet needs, even if we don't always deserve them. The Enterprise continued its journey through space, its crew alive because one person had been willing to risk everything. In sickbay, Naruto slept, his body healing, his spirit unbroken. And deep in his mindscape, Kurama watched over him with protective attention, the Great Fox's presence weaker than usual, but still undefeated. You are an idiot, Kit, the Ninetails rumbled affectionately. A brave, impossible, ridiculous idiot, but you saved them. All of them. In sleep, Naruto smiled. They'd won. Against impossible odds, against a threat that should have killed him, against a machine designed to end worlds. They'd won. Because heroes didn't give up. Because the ninja way worked anywhere. Even in the stars. 3 days after destroying the planet killer, Naruto stood on the observation deck watching stars stream past at warp speed, his reflection ghosting across the viewport. The burns had healed completely. McCoy had been amazed at how fast, but the exhaustion had taken longer to fade. Even now, he felt Kurama's presence quieter than usual, the fox still recovering from channeling millennia of power into one desperate technique. The door slid open behind him. Kirk's footsteps were distinctive, measured, purposeful, carrying the weight of command even in casual moments. Doctor says you're cleared for duty, the captain said, joining him at the viewport, though he added several colorful suggestions about what you should do with your damn fool heroics. Naruto grinned. Bones cares. He just expresses it through yelling. He does, we all do. Kirk was quiet for a moment, watching the stars with him. Starfleet Command received my report. They're calling what you did an act of extraordinary heroism in defense of Federation interests. Admiral Comac wants to meet you personally when we reach Starbase 12. Is that good or bad? With admirals, it's hard to tell. Kirk smiled. But I think it's good. You've proven something important, Naruto. That courage and determination matter more than where you're from or how you got here. That the principles we claim to value actually work when someone's brave enough to live them. Naruto looked down at his hands, remembering them forming that final Russian shuriken, knowing it might kill him but doing it anyway. Back home, I always said I'd never give up on my dreams, that I'd become Hokage no matter what anyone said. But here, he gestured at the stars, here I'm not trying to become a village leader. I'm just trying to be useful, to protect people who accepted me when they had every reason not to. You've done more than that. Kirk turned to face him directly. In 6 weeks, you've saved 2 worlds, destroyed 2 existential threats, and taught this crew that our assumptions about what's possible are far too limited. You've earned your place here, Cadet, not as a curiosity or a temporary guest, but as one of us. The words settled into Naruto's chest, warm and solid. What happens now? More training? Another mission? Both. Spock wants to continue the adaptation protocols, says you're close to 95% efficiency with your abilities. Scotty's been designing equipment specifically calibrated to your energy signature, and Uhura's been teaching half the crew basic Japanese so they can understand when you start yelling jutsu names in combat. Kirk's expression turned more serious. But there's something else. We've been analyzing the dimensional rift that brought you here. Mr. Spock believes he can eventually recreate the conditions necessary to send you home. Naruto's heart clenched. Home, the Leaf Village, his friends, Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Hinata, the dream of becoming Hokage that had driven him since childhood. Everything he'd left behind without meaning to, but also the Enterprise, Kirk's leadership that reminded him of Jiraiya's hidden wisdom, Spock's logic that challenged him to think differently, McCoy's gruff care that felt like Iruka Sensei's concern. Scotty's enthusiasm for impossible engineering, the crew that had accepted a ninja from another dimension and made him family. How long? He asked quietly. Months, maybe longer. The mathematics are complex, and we'd need to locate a suitable quantum nexus point. Kirk studied his face. But we will get you home, Naruto. That's a promise. You have a life waiting for you, dreams you need to fulfill. We won't keep you from that. And if, Naruto swallowed hard, what if I don't want to leave immediately? What if there's more I could learn here? More people I could help? Kirk's smile was understanding. Then you stay as long as you need to. Your journey is your own, Cadet. We're just honored to be part of it. The observation deck door opened again, and the senior staff filed in. Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov. All wearing dress uniforms, all carrying expressions of barely contained excitement. What's going on? Naruto asked, suddenly nervous. Kirk stepped back, his command voice filling the space. Cadet Naruto Uzumaki, front and center. Naruto moved to stand before them, years of shinobi training keeping his posture straight despite his confusion. Kirk held a small box, opening it to reveal a medal, a starburst design in silver and gold that caught the starlight streaming through the viewport. By order of Starfleet Command and in recognition of extraordinary valor in the face of overwhelming danger, Kirk said formally, I hereby award you the Starfleet Medal of Honor for your actions in System L374. Your willingness to sacrifice yourself to save billions of lives represents the highest ideals of Starfleet and serves as an example to all who serve. He pinned the medal to Naruto's jumpsuit, the orange fabric still his preferred uniform despite offers of proper Starfleet dress. Additionally, I'm pleased to inform you that your provisional cadet status has been made permanent. Welcome to Starfleet, Cadet Uzumaki, officially. The room erupted in applause. Scotty was grinning wide enough to split his face. Uhura had tears in her eyes. Even Spock's expression held something that might have been pride beneath the Vulcan composure. I don't, Naruto's voice caught, emotion overwhelming him. I just did what anyone would do. No, McCoy said firmly. You did what a hero does. Own it, kid. They honor you appropriately, Kurama rumbled, his presence stronger now, recovered enough to offer commentary. You have earned their respect through action. This is as it should be. Naruto looked at each face, these people who'd become his crew, his team, his precious people in this impossible universe. Thank you, he managed, for everything. For giving me a chance when I was just some weird kid who survived vacuum. For teaching me about your universe. For trusting me to fight alongside you. The trust goes both ways, Kirk said. You've taught us just as much. About determination, about never giving up even when logic says you should, and about the power of bonds between people who choose to be family. That's the ninja way, Naruto said, wiping his eyes before tears could fall, and I guess it's the Starfleet way too. Now it is, Spock agreed. Your presence has altered our understanding of what's possible. The scientific papers alone will occupy researchers for decades. Just promise you won't put me in a lab, Naruto joked. No promises, McCoy deadpanned, then smiled. Now come on. The mess hall staff prepared an actual feast. No replicated food. They wanted to celebrate properly. As the group moved toward the door, Naruto hung back for one moment, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his home universe existed. His friends wondered where he'd gone. His dream of becoming Hokage waited. But here now, he had a different mission. Learn everything this universe could teach him. Protect the crew that had become family. Grow stronger not just in power, but in wisdom, understanding, and the ability to bridge worlds. When he finally returned home, and he would return, because ninja never abandoned their dreams, he'd bring back lessons that could change the Leaf Village forever. Philosophy from Spock, medical knowledge from McCoy, engineering principles from Scotty, the Federation's ideals of cooperation and understanding, and he'd bring back stories of a starship that boldly went where no one had gone before, carrying a ninja who proved that courage and determination mattered in any universe. Naruto, Chekhov called from the doorway. Are you coming? Sulu says if you don't hurry, he's eating your ramen. Not if I get there first. Naruto laughed and ran to join them. leaving the observation deck and its infinite view of stars for the warmth of community and celebration. The Enterprise continued its journey through space, carrying its crew toward new adventures and unknown dangers. On the bridge, the night shift maintained their watch. In engineering, the warp core hummed with contained power. In sickbay, McCoy's medical logs documented the impossible physiology of interdimensional visitors. And in the mess hall, a ninja from another world sat surrounded by friends, eating ramen and telling stories about fighting gods and demons, while his shipmates listened with wonder and believed every impossible word, because they'd seen him do impossible things, because they'd learned that impossible was just another word for hasn't been done yet, because hope shines brightest in the darkest night, whether that darkness is the void between stars or the space between dimensions. Naruto Uzumaki had found a new home among the stars, and the universe was richer for it. His journey was far from over. Challenges would come, threats to the Federation, moral dilemmas that tested everything he believed, moments when the ninja way and Starfleet regulations clashed. He would struggle with homesickness, with the weight of two worlds' expectations, with the question of where he truly belonged. But he wouldn't face any of it alone, because that was what mattered most. Not the power to destroy planet killers or fight energy beings, but the bonds forged between people who chose to stand together against the darkness. The Enterprise sailed on through infinite space, carrying its crew toward tomorrow's adventures. And somewhere in the multiverse, reality itself adjusted to accommodate something new. A bridge between worlds, embodied in an orange-clad ninja who refused to believe that anything was truly impossible. The legend of Naruto Uzumaki, Starfleet's first interdimensional cadet, had only begun.